your guys' phones volume down or off or whatever. Yeah. We are live.
Rolling.
We're rolling into it. Yeah. I don't see us live here on the phone, but eventually, there we go. Okay. Well, when you are at the whim of the computer, what are you going to do? Hey guys, we're kicking it off here. Sorry, we're a little late. Little computer glitch. Still updating, by the way, fellas.
It'll get there.
Yeah. Yep. So I am going to do my best to pay attention to your guys' comments and questions as we roll through the evening here. I don't have my regular format up. My computer decided to do a spontaneous update, which doesn't help anybody. And so here we are. We're sitting here, and I can see the questions come up on the phone, hopefully, at least on Facebook. YouTube, I'll have to catch up with you as we progress, or maybe Jordan can take a look at that. So welcome, boys.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for coming on in. I mean, you guys are both substantially up north from here.
We are.
But you're in the general region based on the class you're taking. Is that in Fife?
Tacoma.
Tacoma?
Street.
Yeah, right down there on the waterfront.
Okay. All right. Yeah, we're gonna roll into this here. So in case you're wondering, yes, Philip Olson, badger fishing.
I'm here. That's me.
I'm here. That's me. What's the significance of the badger?
My dad was born and raised in Wisconsin.
Okay.
And big sports fan. Huge.
Gotcha.
Loves the Packers. Went to University of Wisconsin, and the mascot is the Badgers.
Yeah.
And so we would sing the fight song every night before we went to bed.
Okay.
And Badgers was the thing. We were the Badgers. And so when I started to get into life, I used that to name a business that I had, LLCs that I had. And yeah, I'm full-born Badger.
Is that mic cutting out, Jordan? Yeah. Let me see here. Take care of these issues before they get too far. Let me see that there, Philip. We'll see if we can't put batteries in that. All types of great stuff. Oh, we got a green light. I don't get it. Hopefully it's not the cord. You just can't move.
I won't move.
So just tell you what, let's just set that in your, set it kind of next to your leg there on the seat. Let that antenna be out there so it doesn't cut out.
10-4.
Yeah, Alex Van Hine.
Yep.
Welcome, my friend.
I really appreciate the opportunity.
Northwest fishing.
Yeah. Don't find myself down here too often.
No.
Born and raised a Marine Area 7 and One Islands fisherman.
Yeah.
But yeah, absolutely. It's a pleasure being here. But like you said, we're down in Tacoma this week, finishing up our captain's license course, which is real exciting. So looking forward to getting that done.
Yeah, I've thought about taking that on, in all my spare time.
So I took time off work.
I just, I don't know how I'd ever fit that in at this point, but
It's worth it. I mean, I thought it was going to be boring, but definitely have been learning quite a bit of stuff.
Yeah, I can't imagine. Well, you're also a pilot.
I'm a pilot.
You
Yeah.
have your pilot's license.
I do, yeah.
Do you fly often or?
A couple times a year.
Mm-hmm.
Just depends on how family things go.
Okay. All right. Folks are starting to get on here and signing in. Appreciate you guys jumping on. We got a little late start. Got some computer issues here on my end, and so I can't see anything going on. I'm actually monitoring Facebook via my phone. So if you're going to put questions on throughout Facebook, I can monitor those. I'm hoping the computer kicks into gear here so we can get things rolling. But as you guys know, we kind of soft roll into this, and we have a lot to discuss. These gentlemen are here having jumped right on in. North of Falcon process this season. Obviously, the seasons are set. They have to be signed off and approved yet, but generally the information is out there for all fisheries throughout Washington State that come out of the North of Falcon process. And Alex, you've done this for a while.
Yeah.
Philip, this is your first year.
Brand new. This was my first time.
So, and I think a lot of folks know that.
Yeah.
So, let's do a little, I don't know. We'll back up a few months here, and I always say social media platforms are an interesting space. Pick which one you want to be involved with, or all of them for that matter. Folks are asking, what's your motivation for getting involved? And they also correlate that to, he got cited from DFW enforcement, and you were mad. And so you figured you would go after DFW. Now, that being said, your original post, a few of them, you didn't have a lot of kind words towards DFW and a few of their staff members. Let's just put that out there.
That would be a fair assessment.
Yep. So want to shed any light on that? Like you were live streaming.
I was, yeah.
Okay. You've been called everything from a snagger to a guy that's putting weight on a treble hook, dragging fish in, keeping them.
Yeah.
All those things. Like, again, social media. So, it's up to you whether you want to let folks in on what exactly, transpired or how this all came to be or whatever.
Yeah. Let's get right into it.
Go ahead.
If we're going to get into it.
Floor is yours. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. I've been fishing in Washington all my life, and fished in a variety of different fisheries, rivers, saltwater, out in Puget Sound, ever since I was a kid. And last year I wanted to, share some of my fishing experiences, and I decided to start live streaming. And so, yeah, TikTok was controversial at the beginning of last year.
Mm-hmm.
And it hooked me. I've never been a social media guy.
Right.
I didn't have social media prior to that.
Right.
And I was live streaming fisheries to, pretty much share with my family and friends what I was doing. And, I'd get on TikTok and live stream it, and there'd be 10, 15, 20 people on there watching. Majority of it was family and friends.
Yeah.
But, one day it hit that algorithm, and it went from 10, 15, 20 people to, a couple thousand people
were tuning
watching.
in. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it was awkward in the beginning. Like, it almost felt like an invasion of privacy. Like,
sure.
Do I really want to do that?
Right.
So I got off that one show that I had where I was fishing and just said, hey, I don't know if I really feel comfortable with that.
Yeah.
I'm just maybe that's not gonna be my thing. Maybe I'll just make videos afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a guy message me afterwards asking, hey, when's the next time you're gonna do that? When's the next time you're gonna get on and live stream? Because I'm in the military. I used to fish in those fisheries.
Right.
Now I'm stationed overseas.
I want to watch.
And I'm vicariously through you.
Sure.
And, I just kind of took it to heart a little bit. And one person, okay, maybe that's not enough to keep doing it.
What happened to the day that you were live streaming and all of a sudden you got met by an enforcement officer in the field?
Yeah, no, I was live streaming. At that point I had probably 10, 12,000 followers on TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
Live streaming up on the Quileute River. I fished that river for 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
And, it was before the rains came.
Low
water,
low clear, fish piled up.
Those fish are piled up right there, below the Three River confluence. And, you throw spinners, you throw bait, you twitch jigs, and, 1 out of 10 of those fish come in the face, where they've, you caught the fish legally. And, we were releasing those foul hooked fish on live stream.
You did not get cited for keeping snagged fish.
I did not get cited for keeping snagged fish. People called me in. Mm-hmm. You can go on there and see all the content online. And,
what'd you get? You got pinched for what? Barb?
I got pinched for taking fish out of the water.
Okay.
The game warden, you can look at the footage online.
Oh,
the game warden looked.
A lot of people watched
at the gear that I was using.
Mm-hmm.
It was legal.
Yeah.
It was legal. Was I proud? Am I proud now looking back on it to be, fishing in a hole where there's 200-300 fish and 1 out of 10's coming in legally, and you just, at that point, is that, are you being a steward of the resource? I wasn't. And, I learned a lot from that.
If you'd watched this show, you would have learned a long time ago, like low clear conditions when we're in fall fisheries. And if you're twitching jigs and the first couple fish come in upside down and backwards, you just got to move down the river.
Yeah.
If they're not snapping, like they're going to hit that thing on the first drop or two, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of people actually have to experience that. Yeah. And, people are chiming in, like, who hasn't been cited from DFW? I got cited from DFW years ago because I was on the other side of the river and I went to mark a fish.
Yeah.
And my pen didn't work.
Yeah.
And you could see I tried to force it on to my punch card. Remember back in the day when we had punch cards?
Yep.
Doesn't seem like that long ago. And I came back across and there was a game warden there and he says, you retain that fish? I said, yeah. And he goes, let me see your card. I go, here it is. You can see where I was trying to write, but I got to get to my truck and get a pen that works. He goes, yeah, well, I'm not buying it. He cited me.
Yeah.
The judge threw it out because he could clearly see I made an effort, right?
Yeah.
But on any given day, game enforcement is going to do their job, right? And they're going to, if they approach you, they've been watching you.
Yeah, for sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
and, you know, the notion that there's literally 100,000 people watch that live stream. I mean, we had a couple thousand people watching at a time. And the notion that I was using weighted treble hooks to bring fish in,
bit of a stretch,
is just not true.
Yeah.
Now, was I in a fishery that, you know, 1 out of 10 of those fish were legally hooked and the rest of them were foul hooked, and that's, you know, not being a good steward of the reef? There's 100%. You know,
that's on you, right?
And I own that. And I regret that.
Right there. Yeah.
We probably wouldn't be here today if that hadn't happened. And
you never know.
You never know.
So, what was your intent in delving into North of Falcon? You just somehow started navigating your way to DFW. Were you going after them at first because you were so pissed of getting cited, or did you have other thoughts?
Yeah, great question. I mean, if you watch the footage of the game warden, you know, the game warden's talking to us about whether you can continue to fish after you have caught your adult limit, and whether you can continue to fish for jacks.
Correct.
And there was, he said we could, but you can't. And
you can't.
You know, taking the fish out of the water, and party fishing, and all that is like, you got to have a degree to really understand and know all those different rules. And so I started.
I take my lawyer with me, to be honest.
There you go. Yeah.
If you look on the wall up here, there's 1971 and 1977. Those are the reg books.
Yeah. Right.
You see that? Yeah. Look what we have nowadays, right? It's become very complicated. A lot of folks don't know, once you retain your adult limit, you are no longer allowed to fish. There's also not party fishing in the rivers.
Correct.
If you're in a drift boat with 3 folks, except
Columbia.
The Columbia. Yeah. Tributary rivers like out here on the coast.
Yeah.
You have 3 you go out to the hump tulips this season again, you're going to have a 1 fish limit.
Yeah.
You have 3 persons in your boat. 2 of those folks retain their adult Chinook or Coho. They're done fishing.
They are.
The 3rd individual can continue to fish, right?
Yeah.
So for folks doing it right, you end up with a boat ride for better part of the day if that's how it comes down. But it's those types of rules a lot of folks are not aware of. So
that's
Philip,
and that's what I mean. That's how I ventured into this. You know, I decided to make some content on what the rivers are blown out, can't live stream anymore.
Right.
Hey, we're December, January, Steelhead hasn't kicked off yet. What can I make some content on? You know, the things that to me don't make sense. So I made content on that, and here we are. You know,
I believe if I look back on it, and trust me, with this show and you blowing up the interwebs as you were, people were sending me, who is this Badger guy, right? Check out this Duane. Look at what he's doing. And I think, I made it a point on this show to say, hey, if this guy is, jumping on the bandwagon of attacking persons at DFW and going after DFW, I've spent a lot of years building relationships there with a number of folks in that department. And I feel like I'm in good standing with a handful of them all the way up to the top. And I said it right here on this program, I will not, sever that opportunity, those relationships with those folks, because people want me to jump on this Badger bandwagon. Now, that being said, I will tell you that you went from basically putting information out about rules that are conflicting, difficult to understand, questioning the legitimacy of it, like can't take a fish out of water. I thought your point you made about not being able to take a fish out of water in contrast to the commercial fisheries is on point. Okay. There's some value there. And then you kind of start navigating your way more towards North of Falcon, season setting process, allocations, rules and regulations, constricting factors. You started going down that thing. And as I put a post out there and shared one of your videos, Philip has immersed himself into the North of Falcon process. Now, there's a lot of folks jumping on here. They already appreciate the fact that you and I are having this discussion right now to kind of lay the stage of, how this all came together and went down.
Yeah.
And you're going to have couple percent of folks that are going to be like, this guy, he's crazy. He's a whack job. He's this, he's that. You're going to get that. I get that too. It doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
The fact is, you decided to really try to get involved and understand the NOF process.
Yeah, that initial content it hit. I mean, it went.
Yeah.
You were trying to make content that hit, and then you didn't even have to try hard. When you talk about those things, it was the boat talk.
Yeah.
Like the talk that I had on the boat live streaming prior, I just took that talk to the internet. And
sure.
The talk that sometimes people aren't comfortable having and digging in and learning about it and talking about how there's, some things that I think could be changed.
That's a valid point. I like to always say there's room for adult conversations, and you can do that without offending said user group. Look, we have a complicated matrix when it comes to managing fisheries within the state of Washington.
Yeah.
No ifs, ands, or buts.
Arguably the most in the world.
I would venture to say yes, Alex. And you've been involved with the North of Falcon in fisheries management for quite some time in your young years. And rightfully so. You're up there in Area 7 is your backyard. You grew up on those fisheries. How much have those changed in the last 15 years even compared to what you were usual and accustomed to?
Well, we can just go back 6 or 7 years, and we were on the water for 92 days of Chinook retention.
Right.
We had 5 days last year.
Yeah.
And that all kind of started for me. Really, what struck a chord was when we saw our fishery close after 6 days of our last season of having a full month of July schedule.
Yeah, right.
And that probably coinciding with me starting a family and reflecting on the experiences that I've had growing up on the water, and not even just what I've learned from catching fish, but just being on the water, just enjoying the natural resources that we have. There's so much to gain from that time, and seeing it being trickled down and dwindled down to less than a week, and then also growing a family. I'm like, I need to do something here. I need to get involved. So I said that I'm not going to sit on the sideline and hope that someone is going to do the petitioning for the things I find important. So at that point, I dove in.
How many years have you been doing NOF?
Well, the first NOF meeting I attended was 2019, just on a call-in level. But after 2020 and then 2021 is when I really started to get verbal. Started to learn a little bit more about the process, because there's a lot, like we've touched on, the policies that are in place, and
we're going to get into some of that.
Yeah, we got time for all of that.
We do. I mean, at some point here, we're going to kick off the actual show. Again, my computer is not functioning. Decided to do an update, so I can't monitor what you guys are sending in via questions and whatnot. I do have my phone on Facebook, and nice comment here. The grabbing attention by using your spinning reel upside down and rubbing bananas on your rod and whatnot.
Yeah.
Hey, it's social media. So you're out there doing what you can do.
Half the time I thought that was how we thought he could fish.
A lot of people.
It took a long time to actually become proficient at casting that spinning reel upside down.
Balancing that spinning reel upside down is no easy task. Those that have it nailed, I mean, hats off to you. I don't know how you do that. It's very uncomfortable. A lot of ground to cover here as we navigate our way through the evening. A number of questions at hand, and I'll try to monitor this the best as I can to see if folks have some on-point questions as we work our way through the conversation. So, I'm hopeful I get my computer back up, because as you guys know who follow us, we have 2 shows to produce and record this evening. The second being mostly about hunting, but you guys are going to stay here with me because we still will continue the ongoing conversation in the realm of NOF and fishing regulations.
I love to hear some hunting talk.
You do hunt.
I do hunt.
Yes. Yeah. Well, would like to play some nice video content for the folks tuning in on the Hunters Gathering that I attended this last week. What a phenomenal event. I can't say enough about it. If this doesn't all come together for me, and I cannot play that video portion later on as we get through, you just have to tune back in. I will have that all uploaded and edited and out there on the stream, so folks can watch that later. So I guess for now we're going to focus on the fishing. And what do you think, Jordan? We'll kick off show 1. I got more questions here, but we'll get into this as far as working our way through NOF. So to back up, Philip, first year of doing it.
Yeah.
And Alex, since 2019 with your login observation, but then more actively involved, actually participating at meetings. Did you both go down to PFMC?
I went down.
No,
You went down. Philip, you went down to PFMC.
I went down on the important days, Saturday and Sunday.
Right.
Yeah.
That's where the decisions get handed out and the finalization gets done. And to your credit, I mean, I've never attended PFMC. It's never a good time for me to venture down there. So
I recommend that everybody at least one time go down there and do that.
Mm-hmm.
You
learn a lot.
You get a connection with, and I'm just to bridge from my content, in the beginning of my content was personal attacks on people.
Right.
And, I took Kelly and I had a kind of a one-sided banter, Kelly Cunningham, the fish program director, posted about my content, and I took a couple of shots against
yes,
him.
you did.
And going through this process and going through PFMC, you quickly learn that there are some really, really good people that work for that department, there are some people that are fishermen just like you and I, and there are some people that are just as prideful about making sure that we get as many opportunities as we can. And it's not the people, it's the process, and there's some things that I wish I would have taken back, and taking a straight shot at somebody that once you get down to PFMC, you see is one of the biggest advocates and one of the biggest supporters of Kelly. And you get intimate conversations with fish program people that you in NOF, you don't get to talk to Christina Iverson or Haley or Ann face to face and have off mic conversations about, hey, what's the why?
I think you came away from this realizing and understanding absolutely how hard these people work for our fisheries.
Yeah, they absolutely do.
Would you want Kelly Cunningham's job?
No, and Ann's sitting there saying,
absolutely not.
You can apply for a job here. There's no chance I want to do that.
No,
they're working there for the weekend, and they're not getting overtime. It's a salary position.
Right.
It's Saturday and Sunday, and they're taking questions from us and getting shots. Who wants to work 7 days a week and take
thank you.
gnarly shots from us?
No, I'd go back to fire department and deal with death and destruction before I'd take on Kelly Cunningham's job. I can tell you that much right now.
After that.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Jordan, let's roll it out. We'll get show number 1 kicked off here, and I don't think my computer is going to cooperate tonight, so we're going to do a little workaround. We'll get through it, and I'll try to glue this all together and put something out there that ends up on the Pursuit channel here.
You're a pro.
Down the road at some point. We'll see what we can do. So, all right, Jordan, you ready? Okay. Hello and welcome to Fish Northwest, Duane England, Bill Herzog.
Hunting, fishing is my kind of style. I love the Winucci with
Right there. Oh, there we go.
I'm proud I own the
That river bites in the hatcheries and eat that fish. Look at that thing. It's not a bad start right there.
And after work a cold beer in my hand.
Oh, it's a big kokanee.
Well, this is as old school as you could ever imagine.
Fishing this McKay pot. One of the cool things about a McKay pot is it's got our bait tunnel built in.
Well, buddy, what do you think, huh? Oh my gosh. You spotted him. 360 rod in the Cook series. Fantastic rod. 10.5 foot, 17 to 40 pound rating. Water getting in there, and he's going to pull right out of my hand. There he goes. Hello and welcome to Fish Hunt Northwest, Duane England, joined by a couple in-studio guests. The Badger himself is here.
Badger is here.
Honey Badger.
Honey Badger. He don't really care. Philip Olson and, of course, Alex Van Hine from Fish Northwest is also here to join me. Tons of content and information to review tonight, fellas. And Herzog's off. He had a prior obligation. I thought no better time than to get you guys in with the conclusion of PFMC and North of Falcon process and seasons being set, and a lot of information came out of there this year. And Philip, let's just face it, you've been on the old interwebs quite a bit, and folks are like gravitating towards what it is you're putting out there. So glad to have you guys in studio here with me.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for
Yeah,
having us.
fantastic. All right, before we get too far along, hey, I do have an announcement. I want to remind everybody our annual Kids Trout Derby is coming up. It's our 6th annual Kids Fish on Northwest Kids Trout Derby. Once again at Summit Lake, and it is in Olympia, Washington, Summit Lake, hosted by us here at Fish on Northwest. It'll be held at the Summit Lake Community Center. The date for this year's event is May 16th, Saturday, May 16th. Daylight start. Participants must be in line for weigh-in by 11 a.m. The Derby is for kids 14 years of age and under. Every participating child gets a free t-shirt printed by us and, of course, a free raffle ticket. So if they don't win prizes with the weigh-in of their fish, no worries. They're going to win prizes based on the raffle ticket. Free lunch for everyone. This year we got street tacos, quesadillas, rice and beans, drinks. We will have a fish pond there once again, supplied by Puget Sound Anglers Gig Harbor chapter. DFW has given us 350 trout put into that fish pond this year, and the majority of folks will be out fishing on the lake. No worries if you don't have a boat. The Washington State Guides Association is once again on board. We'll have professional guides in their boats there at the event. All you need to do for all this information, go to www.fishhuntnw.com, hit the events tab, and it'll have all the information there for you under the events tab. You can navigate your way through. And if you want to get your kids onto a guide boat, fully free, all gear supplied, all you got to do is show up and go fishing. Get on the website, sign up, RSVP, sign up so we know how many kids are going to be on the guide boats, and just enjoy the day. If you're coming to participate, we have overflow parking at the church right behind the community center. Again, all information is on our webpage, www.fishhuntnw.com, and hit the events tab, and we hope to see you there. It's going to be a fantastic event. Very excited about that. So, gosh, if I could talk you guys into coming down, though.
That sounds like a great time.
Dude, everything's free, and every kid goes home with stuff, and we're going to end up with 200 kids again this year, and we'll probably have between 450, 500 folks there. It's a great event. So, all right, we got a lot of information to get through on tonight's program. We got Philip Olson, Badger Fish, and Alex Van Hine, Fish Northwest, are here. We're taking a deep dive into the North of Falcon process, finalization of PFMC, and the seasons of what we can look forward to here throughout the region, throughout Washington State, and what we get to go fishing for. So we're going to delve into all that.
Yeah.
First, we're jumping out for a quick break. We'll be back right after this. Allied, the new leader in heavy gauge aluminum boats. Allied boats have standard reverse chine and lifting rakes to help you plane faster and run at lower RPMs. Allied boats have several models to choose from, ranging from a 19-foot Mustang all the way up to a 32-foot Liberator. So regardless of what type of heavy gauge aluminum boats you are looking for, Allied Boats will have it for you. Contact Allied Boats today to learn more about these incredible fishing machines.
Sharp as can be. Super strong, super durable.
Really good penetration. Thinner and stronger.
Catch fish after fish.
I want to make sure that I'm using the best stuff possible.
World's finest hook.
World's finest hook.
Gamakatsu, world's finest hook.
Yep, for sure.
Oh yeah, big fish. Yeah, buddy. Nice fish. Beauty. Gorgeous fish.
Bobby's on the board.
We got a good one.
Oh, yeah. Oh, geez, come on.
Nice fish. Nice fish.
All right, welcome back here in studios. We continue with my in-studio guests for this evening, Philip Olson, Badger Fishing, and Alex Van Hine, Fish Northwest. And so, gentlemen, lots to cover here, and want to get right to a few of the things that are commonalities with the North of Falcon process. One, you talk to a lot of people, and they say, man, and I've heard it said a ton of times, because people message me all the time about this stuff, and I don't have near the knowledge that you do, Alex, in regards to this stuff, but the process is broken. And I'm like, is it? And kind of a two-part question here. Is it broken? The other side of that is you walk into the room and you feel a sense that DFW isn't really there battling or representing the recreational angler. It seems like a lot of the conversations stem around and are driven by commercial fisheries, whether it be tribal, non-tribal, commercial, versus them really going to battle for us recreationally. What do you guys say?
Well, your first part of the question is the process broken? And I think that it's pretty easy to say that there's parts of this process that are broken. And I've come out and said this in a couple different places before, but I certainly think that a component of the North of Falcon process that's broken is the timing of it. And in more ways than one. I mean, we can just look at the calendar dates of everything and say that needs to be amended. We can't get to North of Falcon 2, which is the last meeting that we have prior to going into the Pacific Fisheries Management Council meetings. We can't get to NOF 2 without an updated model. And
correct.
And that's something that we've now done for at least 2 years in a row. And I know there's been other years prior that's been the case too. Now that 100% does not fall on the department's lap. That's not their fault. You know, they're waiting for Canadian fishery inputs. They're waiting for Alaska fishery inputs. But if the timing of our meetings are going to be in question of us having tangible, effective conversations at our last true opportunity to bring public into a room, then that schedule is indeed broken. I
was at that meeting, Philip. I think you asked a question on point, was like, well, you don't have the updated data for the models. What are we doing here, right?
Yeah.
You know, DFW is in a tight spot on that. I agree in the sense that, like, I don't know how they look down the road and go, we will absolutely have our hands on this data by this time, and then we can build the models, and then we can present them to the public and everybody that's showing up.
So time is one component of it. And I said that's more in ways than one. I mean, just purely on a calendar aspect, but also time and opportunity for the public to participate in that process. It's difficult because most of the meetings are in the middle of the week. And then we do have some call-in meetings that are in the evenings on weekdays, but
correct.
I don't think we have enough. And I will say, to the credit of the department staff at North of Falcon 2, when it became aware that we weren't going to have an updated model to work with and actually really propose something.
Sure.
I advocated pretty loudly about that they need to put together a call once those numbers were provided, and to put together a call to give the public another opportunity to speak to them before PFMC. And they did that. They found a way in between. I think that meeting was on like a Thursday. They found a way between Thursday and the following Thursday to squeeze in a Zoom call, and that was productive. And so, so sometimes we need to tip our cap to them when they adhere to those requests we made. So that was a win. For them to really hold.
Well, they're trying, and I think in some regards, a lot of folks don't understand. Like, these folks are salary, no overtime. DFW is up against it, and look, I'm not making excuses for DFW, but the facts are they're up against it monetarily. Like, their budget restraints are so tight. You're not getting folks to come in and work, overtime and try to compile all this data and be ready for those meetings. I don't know what the workaround is on that. I'm sure their staff is hopefully looking at this and saying, yeah, it makes no sense for NOF2 when we don't have the data to support the discussion.
Right. Well, we want to make proposals. We want to
based on the information they provide. For sure.
We give them suggestions in the early parts of the process, whether it's even at the forecast meeting, then into North Falcon 1, we start saying, hey, we would really like to see this here and this date frame there, and a number of fish here, and then we get a chance at NOF2, hopefully, to see that get put into the model, to see how that can get structured, and then we can, with our own eyes, find out why it may or may not work here, but it may work over here.
Right.
So we need that opportunity.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
Yeah.
what's the point, right? That's the that's when I say.
What was your takeaway on that meeting, Philip? Real quick.
You know, I haven't been in North of Falcon before, so I haven't been groomed to, you know, the ways that everybody does things. You know, so from an outsider that has not a fishery management background but a business background, I look at like, hey, does it make sense? And does what we're doing inside of North of Falcon make sense? Are we really taking public comment and taking what the public says and using that information to shape our fisheries, as long as it fits biologically and scientifically? And it doesn't feel like that. I feel like you go to the first meeting, you make comments, you go to the second meeting, you make comments, and the only comments that actually anything tangible happens is like at the very end when we get to pick what days we're fishing.
Right.
I mean, that's literally,
or not.
You know, I went to 4 or not, and we're going to get into that.
Yeah, we are.
So there has to be, and it's either a lack of communication from the department on what is taking place inside of the North of Falcon process, so we can understand why maybe the things that we're asking or talking about isn't being used to shape our fisheries.
Sure.
Or it's, hey, they're just doing it to check a box, you know,
which is, definitely the path we do not want to go down. There's far too many folks involved with this thing to think everybody's just showing up and the decisions are already made. I hate hearing that. It's like, I want to know that I have a stake in this. Like what I say, they actually listen to. And we'll consider if it's a reasonable request. All right, hold your thoughts for a second. So much more to get to. Out for a quick break. We'll be right back.
I make my living catching fish, not only as a tournament angler, but as a guide as well. Catching fish is important, and Gamakatsu hooks for me, you know, they kind of help take the luck out of fishing a little bit just because they're a high quality hook. Obviously have a really good reputation for being very strong and very sharp. Gamakatsu, I use their products every day in the boat, and, you know, big part of my success.
All right, welcome back. As the conversation continues, Alex, before the break, we were kind of talking about, I made a comment to say, you know, I'd like to feel or know that when I go to those meetings and I have things to say, I like to think I'm being heard. Sure. You said some positive things actually came out of some things that were said at this season.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's hard to talk about a positive outcome of a process that we just endured, wherein it saw upwards of 50% cuts to some of our fisheries, right? Complete eliminations of certain freshwater fisheries. So it's hard to say something positive about that. But we up north, the constituency up north, specifically Marine Area 7, we've been pleading the case to see this terminal area that we have to be extended. If our Chinook opportunity days have been reduced by 90%, where can we find some time to put our guys on the water? And our terminal fishery up there was a place. So for the last couple of years, we've been pushing pretty hard to see this Bellingham Bay terminal fishery get extended. Traditionally, it opened on August 15th and ran through September 30th. Didn't get a lot of traction with that in some previous meetings, but honestly, since Jake took over in his position, Jake Rice, as the salmon steelhead manager of the state of Washington, he really seemed to listen. And
he's different.
He is different.
He's different.
That's good.
He's different. It's a positive move.
Yeah, for sure.
And we saw the first 2 weeks of August get modeled into the fishery this year, and it stuck.
Okay.
And so we're going to put our anglers on the water in a terminal fishery, albeit, but we're going to put them on the water for 2 additional weeks. That
small
we
victory.
Small victory,
yeah, and that comes through dialogue and conversation, right?
Hopefully it's the first of many.
Making them aware. You know, it's like, hey, we really would like to see if you're able to do this, and they're willing to pop that into their modeling and see. And then you guys know how it is. You put in data here, and it changes data over here, and it's the ins and outs. So let's focus in on Puget Sound. Look, man, I tell you what, I love my Area 10 fishery.
Yeah. Right.
Even living down here in Olympia, it's worth the drive to me. The fishing up there can be really good. But this year, going into it, I got to tell you, man, I don't think I've ever been more frustrated. Look, going into preseason forecast, when you see numbers like 309,000 Chinook coming back to Puget Sound, 279,000, of course, are hatchery Chinook. Mm-hmm. That's not our issue. Our issue is the recognized natural spawners or our wild component, whatever title you want to give it.
Right.
And in a few select areas that are problematic year in and year out that continue to force our recreational fleet off the water. All those fish coming back this year, we get to target 1,300 Chinook in Area 10. That is 1 day of fishing, fellas. That's 1 day of fishing. Why? Because it's a shotgun start. It's a derby mentality. Yeah. It's like, what day is that? Is it going to be July 16th? Is it going to be, I haven't looked at the calendars, July 18th, a Saturday? I mean, what day is it going to be, right? We're going to get 1 day to target those Chinook, and then we're going to get pushed off the water because what's the components driving it this year? I know I have my thoughts, but you guys were at the meetings day in and day out.
Yeah, so that's being driven by our Snohomish stock. Which we kind of saw coming in. That was, look, every year it's still Squamish, Skagit, Snohomish, and also Nooksack Springs. But,
yes.
It's generally the 3 S's that are going to drive our fisheries.
Yep.
And it's always kind of seemed like it's been the still Squamish more than not lately. But this year the Snohomish was an issue for us. And one of the biggest issues was that forecasting showed a abundance of 2-year-old fish that would show up as encounters, which substantially increased the overall exploitation rate on Fram.
So we're hitting a threshold of sublegal encounters. Why? How come the modeling showed we had an abundance of 2-year-olds coming back?
That's a great question. You know,
how do they derive that information?
You through forecasting.
Yeah.
But I mean, an abundance of those 2-year-old yearlings coming back early, and it raises the impacts on those stocks. And so
tremendously.
Are we so from an outsider looking in, like, I thought we're managing to quota. Are we managing to quota, or are we managing to impacts?
I think our fisheries as of late, or outside looking in, we are subjected to impacts. Yeah,
and some great questions were brought about that 2-year-old component and how it can be forecasted as I don't want to say a certainty. It is a forecast, but it's a premonition almost, that how can we definitively state that that's going to be something that affects our fishery, or if they'll even show.
Right.
But regardless, there are 2 fisheries inside our Puget Sound.
I'm going to stop you right there.
Okay.
I got to stick to this. We're going to continue on this. Trust me. Out for a quick break. We will be right back.
Behind every great fishtail, every grip and grin glory shot, a record set, there lies tragedy, folly, mishap, strife only an angler's heart can know. Out here, you have to earn your strikes. It won't be pretty, but we'll have your stern through thick and thicker, because there are always more fish in the sea, and the right one, it's out there, just waiting to be found.
The Northwest premier upland bird hunting destination. Located along the beautiful Umatilla River in eastern Oregon. fully guided bird hunts with expert guides and top-notch dogs. Enjoy comfortable accommodation and gourmet meals at the Riverview Lodge. Book your sensational hunting experience with Horseshoe Curve Outdoors.
Defiance Marine is the one-stop shop for the Pacific Northwest angler. Defiance Marine guarantees the best price on a new and best service on a repower for your current boat. Defiance Marine is a Honda Premier dealership and one of the largest on the West Coast. Defiance Marine is a boat dealer who proudly sells Defiance, Allied, and Arima boats. All boats are built by West Coast fishermen for West Coast fishermen. Defiance Marine has all your boating needs to help you get out on the water. All right, welcome back. As we're kind of getting through this, just so much to cover, never enough time. But, you know, that's the beauty of this. We got the show after the show, so we'll continue the conversation. For all the folks tuning in online, yes, stay with us because we got a lot of ground to cover here. Alex, before the break, you're talking about the 2-year-old component. Now, this is an assumption. This is through their modeling out there. Actually, you know, their test fisheries are like we have a high percentage of 2 years. Yeah,
all forecast.
Right.
Yeah,
so it's forecasted.
So which is a co-management thing. This is something that we do in cohesiveness with the co-managers as far as modeling and forecasting. You know, so what I was gonna get to within FRAM and within our resource management plan, our Puget Sound Comprehensive Salmon Management Plan, it is determined that Snohomish stocks are most affected in Marine Area 5 and Marine Area 10. And so when we're looking at a low abundance of return on that specific Snohomish stock, they're going to look at the marine areas that have the most impact. And that is unfortunately our 5 and 10. We saw the resulting effect. There's so much more to it than just that. There's other factors. There are policy negotiations.
I didn't look up the number. What do we? What's our quota for Area 9? Anybody?
For Area 9, I think we're right around 2,900.
Yeah.
Okay.
29.
Okay.
Which they took a cut as well.
They did. Yeah, it's down a little bit. Across the board, are we not down about between 55-60% overall in Puget Sound?
Yes.
Yes. Well, a big portion of that obviously was
Area 10
and 5.
Big hit.
5 got their winter back. They're going to have a 900 fish opportunity to go where they're spring, right? Their April.
Will that be an April fishery?
Yeah. So 5's going to get that back.
I want to talk a little bit more about this Snohomish, Stillaguamish kind of component moving forward here, but we're going to take a pause right here for a second. I do have an announcement. Hey, get ready for our Fish Hunt Northwest merchandise store grand opening in person here on the property at the at the shop, at the warehouse, so to speak. April 25th. 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. It's opening day of trout season too, by the way, folks. So having our grand opening of our merchandise store, finally got it off the ground. We're so excited. And then, of course, we'll have the store up online for purchase all over the nation. May 1st, by the time you're seeing this here on Pursuit Channel, our store will be up and going. And we ask you to go to www.fishhuntnw.com. Check out our online store after May 1st and check out all the great merch. You guys walked in there.
I mean, it's going to be like our fisheries this year. It's loaded. I mean, it's literally loaded. There's a lot of fish coming.
We are actually exceeding 110 percentile of quota. And there we have a lot of merchandise ready to get it out there for the fine folks. People have been asking for it, and we are ready to go. Jinglin Jigs will be selling a ton. Steelhead jigs and twitchers, the whole deal. So just wanted to make sure everybody,
those twitching jigs.
You just keep away from those twitching jigs, Philip. So I don't know if we have time to get this in. Stillaguamish component. Now, I've had DFW staffers on the show in the past. We've talked about the millions upon millions of dollars that have gone into that Stillaguamish, Snohomish component as far as habitat restoration, right? We've spent
seen it on Camano Island.
Right.
We've seen it on along 529 between Marysville and Everett.
Mhm.
We've seen a lot of habitat restoration going on.
And then, of course, we also had a discussion with fish program managers in the realm of pushing forward and getting aggressive with a bona fide recognized broodstock program of those fish, genetically recognized strain of fish within that system that we need to broodstock. So we're gonna put a pin in that for a second. We're going to carry that conversation on the show after the show. So if you want to, get more of this information here off of Pursuit, then go ahead and tune in. Check it out. You can roll up the entire show on our Facebook page or our YouTube channel. So that being said, I want to thank you guys for joining me. We have more to discuss. We've had a great time here. Look, weather's going to be fantastic. Get outside, get something done. Have a great week. Get on the water. God bless. Broodstock program moving forward. Now, in my mind, a successful broodstock program, the new leader in heavy gauge aluminum boats. Spent a ton of time and been involved with catching and retaining steelhead down in Oregon on the Siletz and some other rivers, putting them into holding tanks on the guide's boat, dropping them into collection cages in the river. And then ODF&W comes and pick those up. We've covered that so folks truly gain understanding on the difference between a broodstock program and a hatchery program. Now, when you're starting those programs off, you're not clipping fish because you want those broodstock wild genetics back to the gravel. I mean, this is all in an effort to get more fish on the gravel. So if we're clipping those fish, they can be retained. You would never know it's a wild fish. You would think it's a hatchery environment. They clip the fish. You can retain that fish. So we're trying to get more fish back on the gravel, this wild component that continues to handcuff us so we can have more access to our hatchery fish. Again, 279,000 this year, right? If we have a broodstock program going on versus a hatchery program, and we're clipping those fish in a broodstock environment, how is that a program for success? To me, in my little head, we're not gaining anything by exercising a program like that. Why would that be going on?
It's disingenuous. It's a hatchery on the Stillaguamish. It's taking fish off the spawning grounds, raising those fish, releasing them. They go out. We want them to come back to recover that stock.
100%.
And we're clipping the fish so that recreational anglers in areas 4 through wherever they're going to be caught are keeping those fish. And we don't want to keep those fish. We want those fish to come back. And it's a disingenuous program if you're going to clip those fish so recreational anglers catch them. Then those impacts are turned around and used against us.
Correct.
Inside the modeling to restrict our fisheries. It's like you're weaponizing ESA.
Not knowing that it's truly a broodstock fish. Assume
Why would we know any different?
You don't know any different. Now, there's a Canadian component to this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right, Alex?
Yeah. Well, currently, you can find all this information in the the Puget Sound Comprehensive Salmon Management Plan, which is still in the process of being approved by NOAA. So we've been managing to this plan since 2022 or
2022 was introduced, I believe.
And but it's not a done deal.
It's a harvest management plan, Puget Sound Harvest Management.
Yeah,
right?
Yes. And some folks at the department might want us to believe that it's etched in stone.
It's not.
But there is going to be a public comment on this through NOAA. And I think we absolutely have some places where we would love to see some improvements. That's
we will get improvements.
To your question, though, we see 56.1% of total run mortality of the Stillaguamish stock occur in Canadian fisheries.
Crazy.
56%.
Yeah, of total run mortality. So
Yeah.
of all the deaths that occur, or all the dead fish that occur of the
Mhm,
Steelhead stock,
Yeah.
56% of them are
Yep.
occurring in Canadian fisheries.
So they're wanding these fish, wired code tags.
Yep.
They could wand them if they had a adipose fin attached.
They sure could.
I don't understand. And of course, there's layers to this thing. There's a lot I don't understand. But the fact is, put a fish back in the water that has an intact adipose fin,
Yep.
let it go do its thing, let
Yep.
it come back through Canadian waters. They catch that fish, they wand it.
Yep.
Okay, they collect their data, throw the fish back in the water. Hopefully it survives enough to make it back through Washington waters. And guess what? When it navigates its way all the way from area 5 through 7 on down through Puget Sound and gets back to that Stillaguamish, Snohomish system, it's a fish that hopefully will hit the gravel because it has not been retained or kept in any way, shape, or form, especially in the confines of Washington state. And at the end of the day, all this sublegal data that we're collecting, encounters, all the wild fish encounters, if we're truly doing a broodstock program with intact adipose fins to get fish making it back, that's the only way we're going to finally get this run to a point that it no longer pushes the recreational fleet off the water.
And just to be super clear, just to be accurate on information, those fish, if they did not have a clipped fin, would not get wanded in Canada. And that's part of the reason, Canada only wands, unclipped fish.
Yeah. So that,
And so
for me, that, hey,
they only
DFW,
want, clipped fish.
should we have this conversation
Yeah.
with our, with our Canadian brothers? Can we like say, hey, we're no longer going to clip these fish because this is really, we could go on for hours about this, but think about how bad that handcuffs our ability to have the recreational fleet on the water in certain areas. Exercising our right to go after all these hatchery fish in the water. The economic impact around the surrounding areas, right? I mean, it's a huge deal.
We have a decade worth of data of those fish dying in Canada. We do not need that data anymore.
Yeah, it's like, let's move on.
Whatever you're going to do with the data, you're going to litigate against Canada. You're not like, we'd have it. We don't need to clip those fish anymore. We need those fish to recover so we can all fish.
It's time for us to kind of, do what we need to do for ourselves. What it sounds like to me.
Yeah. And you, I know, is familiar. Others may not be, but we are part of something called the Pacific Salmon Treaty.
Correct.
And that includes multiple states and then also Canada and Alaska. And that's up for renegotiation right now. We know that we have folks renegotiating the plan. And I think for the last several years, we've been pretty advocate on making sure it's not forgotten that these impacts on this stock of concern to us continues to be mainly driven in Canadian fisheries.
I can't for the life of me understand this conversation, again, my small brain, should be happening, should have happened. Look, we're again spending millions upon millions of dollars. You always hear, look, the habitat is destroying these natural spawners or wild fish. Again, whatever you want to label them. Okay, well, we've taken major steps to rebuild the damages that have occurred in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. We're paying the penance for those decisions, poor decisions back then.
Sure.
That's happening in our lifetime right now. So it's much like the sea lion debacle. How many millions upon millions of dollars are we investing in salmon recovery, but yet we lack predator control and we lose millions upon millions of dollars annually based on that? We have a lot of work to do here. The habitat thing, and the tribes have been on board, have been leading in some regards in a lot of areas to make this stuff happen, right? And there's been a lot of really good effort by a lot of really good people. If it comes to putting fish in the water with a fin intact or not, so that they can make it back through a certain border crossing, so to speak, I mean, talking simple here. That to me is almost a no-brainer. If those conversations are happening, then great. Let's hope there's hope in the future for that.
Yeah, there's two things on that. We bring those topics up at North of Falcon. As an outsider, with my first NOF, I was expecting some type of dialogue or an answer to, hey, Stillaguamish fish are a problem inside of PST. What are you guys going to do with Canada?
Right.
We're working on it.
Yeah.
Well, we want a better answer than
what does that mean?
We already don't have trust that we feel like you're working on it. Give us a better condition response to that.
Sure.
Number one.
Yeah.
Number two, from an outsider who's never looked at this moving forward, you said that both sides of the equation have done a lot to fix harvest, to fix habitat, to fix the problems that are
Right,
getting these fish
right.
to come back. You know, almost everybody, if you live in Puget Sound, you're being affected by these construction projects that were created to fix all of these salmon river creeks, the constraint from, you know, construction over the last 100 years.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I learned from, you know, an outside perspective is, you know, there's some serious litigation that the tribes took on against the state.
Yep.
And they were given an option. They were given an option of one of two things. They could have taken money.
Oh yeah.
The state tried to settle with them.
Right.
And instead they said, we don't want the money.
We want
you to fix what you screwed up.
Yeah.
And to me, that showed me, you know, in my little brain, like, hey, it's not about money for them.
No.
It's about fixing the resource.
Absolutely.
And that step that I heard that the tribe, you know, that was pure. You know, that was a pure step to making sure that, you know, they're participating. We all need to participate. Canada needs to participate in fixing this.
People think that it's a complete waste of time, money, and resources for habitat, rebuilding of habitat. Look, the Nisqually Delta is a prime example.
Yeah.
Okay. And I had Willie Frank III on my show here a year and a half ago. Came in studio. Great individual. I mean, Billy Frank Jr.'s son, right?
Yeah.
Just a really long-standing family in the Northwest. A lot of history there. In fish wars. I mean, if you look into this stuff, and very good people with the right mindset on things that need to be done to rebuild our fisheries.
Yeah.
They blew out those dikes and whatnot years ago and reclaimed over 400 acres of wetlands in estuary at the mouth of the Nisqually River. And if you're not familiar with that, when you drive south on I-5 and go past that Nisqually Delta area, that used to be dry fields, farm fields. Now, when the tide's in, it's wet all the way to I-5, right? For good reason. What they realized in the first couple of years of reestablishing that estuary and that ecosystem, they have White River Spring Chinook that navigate their way into that area. It's an area of refuse. It's an area of feed. It's an area for them to grow and get big enough to outmigrate, right? Yeah. And they have determined there's a number of fish species from a number of Puget Sound rivers that find themselves down here in South Puget Sound before they head north and finally get out of here. So there is a lot of positive outcomes of all the money being spent on the habitat reconstruction and reclaiming it. We just need to do the other side of that, like broodstock programs and things that we've been talking about. Try to get, in my mind, Canada on board to allow some of our fish to get through and back. Yeah. So we can truly gauge what we're doing.
Yeah. I think there's traction there a little bit again. On the Canadian side.
Interestingly enough, the 10-year average of hatchery Chinook, we are up 60% with this year's return of being over 300,000, right? And but we are unfortunately down 35% on the 10-year average for wild origin. But as we talked at dinner, Alex, we're actually up 16% on those wild stocks from last year.
Yes. Yeah.
So when you can say we're up 60% overall on the 10-year average, but we're actually up 16% on wild stocks from last year, but yet we're still taking a major hit in two of our areas. It's so conflicting. It really gets frustrating and complicated. So you look at those numbers and then go, well, but this year we're introducing into the model a 2-year early returner.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, there's something else that was introduced into the model this year. That is something I think we wanted to get to. And maybe this is a good.
Go ahead. Yeah, by all means.
Folks might have heard about some amending and some adjustments that were made to a very popular fishery, the Tulalip Bubble.
Oh yeah, we are going to talk about that.
And if this is a good time, I think we just
the floor is yours, my friend.
Touch it. So it was made aware to us during this North of Falcon process this year that recent CWT coded wire tag data from very recent fisheries, as recent as last year, was discovered that there were more impacts on Still-Squamish and Snohomish fish than previously estimated inside the FRAM model during the Tulalip Bubble fishery. So what they identified was in real current recent years data that there was some coded wire tags recovered out of the bubble fishery that were from the Still-Squamish and Snohomish system. That then was implemented into FRAM. And by doing that, they have now inflated what our overall impacts are inside that terminal fishery, to the extent of now we've reduced our fishery from 745 modeled fish last year to now down to 600. Now, 745 fish was modeled last year. We still caught over 3,000. That was per some co-manager discussions. They were able to work together and allow the catch to continue.
Now, for those not familiar with that fishery, you say bubble. It's a recognized zone.
It's a terminal area.
It's a terminal area, by which we mean those fish are destined to return to that area and head to a specific river and hatchery, right?
Well, yeah. So the Colcita into Tulalip Bay, they actually are fish that originated from a state hatchery, the Wallace River.
Right.
Yes, we do hand them over to our co-managers to help rear and release them to provide that fishery for both co-manager harvest and recreational harvest.
So they're finding we are actually catching and retaining more of those Stillaguamish or Snohomish fish in that terminal fishery than they previously understood.
Which are CWT tags. So, which could be a broodstock, stilly broodstock fish. That's a hatchery fish.
Absolutely could be.
Now it is a non-selective fishery, but why I'm going down this road is because when we look at FRAM, it's based off. It's called a base model, which is over 10 years old at this point. So CWT data that was collected over 10 years ago is how they are determining impacts in said fishery.
10 years ago. And for those not aware, Fishery Regulation Assessment Model.
That's correct.
That's what FRAM stands for. Fishery Regulation Assessment Model.
Yep. That's the guiding piece of science.
So say that again. 10-year-old data.
The base model ended in 2017, or the base period ended in 2017, I believe.
Okay.
So and
a lot of things have changed since then.
Right. SRKW food supplement, increasing the hatchery production.
Huge. Tremendous.
And we go on and on.
Yeah.
So
these are some of the things you guys involved with NOF, you're picking up on to say,
we want that change.
We want those updated.
Yeah. And this is why. I'll get this is where I'm going. Yeah. This is why.
Just throw it down.
Because Area 7, specifically Marine Area 7, has one of the highest FRAM modeled impacts on Stillaguamish fish. We have seen one CWT recovered in Marine Area 7 since 2019. One, and it was in 2022.
But they're holding on to old data.
But old data is suggesting that we have a high impact.
Injecting it into the model, which will year in and year out kick out a high impact in Area 7.
I brought, and again, what's broken, what could be fixed and helped, is that how are we able to identify CWT data on recent year fisheries in the Tulalip bubble and then implement it literally in the 15th hour of NOF to then reduce that fishery, but we can't implement that data into a marine area that would in turn increase a fishery. And that's something that's
a fair question.
We really,
it's a fair question.
It's a bias.
We have these recognized areas, and look, we navigate these conversations wholeheartedly. I always say we can have adult conversations in the room, not offend persons. We have multiple user groups in this regard and how we manage our fisheries.
Yeah.
We're talking Area 7. Look, it's no secret. Last year, there were some photographs being passed around social media that stemmed from Fish Northwest. We had some co-managers and some tribal fishermen up there in their right, and built into the models and for harvest.
Yeah.
So they're going after pink salmon.
Pink eye or pink and sockeye.
Right.
Yeah.
But what really got people fired up was the abundance of Chinook on the deck of that boat.
Yeah.
Bycatch, right?
Yeah.
And that bycatch was in excess of 4,000.
4,200 fish.
Right. And do they wand those fish or no? Do they have wire code tags? Do they understand where those fish are destined to?
Sure. First of all, so I grew up in the area. I have very long-standing, deep relationships with a lot of folks, a lot of members of the tribal community.
Oh, as do I.
People that are literally on that boat. And so I don't think that they were necessarily doing anything malicious or doing anything that they're not entitled to do and nor should have the right to do. But when we're talking strictly numbers, and again, this could be uncomfortable for some folks, but we're adults.
We'll say numbers. I say impacts.
Okay, right.
Because really, I mean, when you look at any of this, our impact on the water.
We've established we're managed to an impact.
Absolutely.
And then maybe other ways of access to this fish is established under a number. So when we saw we see a bycatch number of 4,200 fish when the Marine Area 7 quota number was for sport was 2,181.
Mm-hmm.
It naturally wants or bodes the question of, are we modeling these fisheries on an equal platform? And I don't want to get down the road of 50-50 sharing. I mean, we think we can at some point. We can go on and on. And I'm not asking that question about 50-50 sharing. I'm just talking about if we're looking at a resource and we're looking at impacts that are modeled within that area, they should be mirrored.
100%. And that's all I'm advocating for is to say impacts are impacts.
Yeah.
I learned years ago being involved with the Grays Harbor recreational group and sitting in on meetings season after season and trying to understand fisheries, modeling fisheries, how to set season, how to be conservative, how to ensure that we're not continuing to damage the runs, but what we're doing is building back better,
want to conserve.
Right?
We want conservation.
100%. And so across the board, and I guess what I was going to say in that regard is I was educated to the fact that we don't tell our co-managers how to fish. They don't tell us how to fish. I'm like, I can respect that, right? And it's no secret. We have thousands more of people out on the water than our co-managers do.
Yes.
At times, though, their non-selective means of harvesting their fish impacts all of us. Those numbers are those numbers. Philip, you were pulling up numbers of historical data on some of our fisheries and what the take actually was. You always have the forecast. You have the LOAF, the list of agreed to fisheries. You have the catch of
preseason model catch.
Preseason model catch, right? Harvest numbers. And certain areas we have to refrain from having such a huge impact. Now, I don't know the general makeup of that boatload of Chinook, if those were fish of concern.
They could be Fraser. They could be,
Up there in Area 7, it could be a host. I mean, it's a mixing pot up there, right? But it does bring the question and the conversation to the room, and I think it's healthy. And I think it's where we need to be to say, you know what? We screwed up when we looked into these fish, whether they, again, can wand them and understand where these fish are coming from or where they're going. We did have a much higher impact on that fishery than we intended to do. So what's the recourse? What are we going to do next time, right? I just want to ensure that across the room, we recognize impacts are impacts. I don't care how you go catch them. Right? If you ask me, do I want to see gill nets in terminal fisheries? No. But if it's in a controlled manner and they're only taking their rightful allotment share and the forecasts have indicated that they can have XYZ number, I don't care how they catch their fish. I really don't. But I want to ensure that all sides of the table are face value in those discussions, in that, again, we can walk through it. You go 5, 7, 9, 10, 11, 13, impacts are impacts. And we have to manage our fisheries to stay off of these here, so we ensure that they arrive here. It's really what we do back and forth all day long, right? So
it's two sides. You know, there's two sides to that. The first side of it is the discussion about the modeling, the FRAMP. You use the computer model, and we had an issue in the Tulalip bubble. We found the issue.
Right.
Recreational anglers are catching too many Stillaguamish fish. So this year we update it to reduce those impacts.
Right.
But we just update the model in one area. Why would we not use the best available science and update it through the entire fisheries? If the data is 10 years old, what is the reason? What's the reason behind that? Because, you know, in Area 7, there's zero impacts on any commercial fishery. Modeled.
Take that in.
Inside a FRAM.
There's
zero impacts. There's goose eggs. 0, 0, 0, 0. Take the TAMs.
On commercial fisheries.
FRAM is the actual
co-manager, not co-manager.
Across the board, 0. So you're telling me that all the reef netters, every single commercial fishery that takes place in Area 7 has 0 impacts on Stillaguamish, Nooksack, Snohomish, Skagit. But we can find a fishery that we do have some impacts, and we can update it this year to reduce our fisheries. I'm personally not anti-harvest. I think everybody should get to harvest their fair share.
We have
whether it's impact-
279,000 hatchery Chinooks swimming through the waters of Puget Sound.
Yeah. You cannot weaponize the data to reduce one user group.
So you can't continue to pump out hatchery numbers and then not have a means to go after them. Look, the wild fish advocacy groups are just frothing at the mouth to say they're not catching them. Why are they continuing to put them in the water?
We could go there.
Okay, we're not going to go there. So it's like we don't have time for sea lions.
It's not even just recreational anglers that are getting hurt. The South Sound treaty tribes are getting crushed too.
Absolutely.
And if you don't think that those South Sound treaty tribes are talking to me on social media and telling me you're spot on, that's an issue. It's not everybody that's the problem. You know, it's individual user groups, and we need to all be able to have those uncomfortable conversations.
It's pockets. It's not everybody.
We need to fix it. We need to fix it.
You speak of South Sound, the Squally's right here in the backyard. I've had David Trout on the show numerous times. Very, very awesome individual, very well rounded, knowledgeable, has been involved with fisheries management for years. We have very candid conversations, and there's a struggle here to get these fish coming back in the waters of the Nisqually watershed. But there's also a glimmer of hope. There's a new strain of wild genetic fish that they think have some connectivity to the Skagit. I mean, big, robust,
probably really good looking fish.
Oh, for crying out loud! Like let's exterminate those Green River strain of genetics out of that Nisqually Basin, and let's march forward with the Broodstock program in regards to this. Right? It's recognizing those genetic strains within those watersheds that are going to have the best course of survivability. But these South Sound fish can't even make it here if we don't pay attention to them. Yeah, if we hammer them. So
go ahead. I was just going to touch.
We need to manage to genetics.
We're talking about policy.
Right.
And you've mentioned on your shows before, and we've kind of mentioned a little bit here tonight as well. But we're managed to impacts, and the way that we're managed to those impacts is by looking at fishery controls, sublegal encounters, unmarked encounters,
in season.
Total catch
in season.
Total catch estimate. That's in season
Correct.
management.
Yep.
When we asked, we had a town hall meeting a couple years back, and we had a very respected individual within our sport fishing advisory group asked the question to the previous salmon and steelhead manager, Mark Bossel, about what was going into implementing some of these fishery controls within Marine Area 11 specifically. And Mark's response was that although there may not be any definitive biological reasons for putting fishery controls in place, it is a necessary thing we need to do to bring a level of comfort to our co-managers. That is a direct quote.
So I feel like I'm listening to a few of our well-known commissioners on the Fish and Wildlife Commission and basing decisions on emotion
and policy.
Okay.
We're making policy decisions
based on emotion. Which there's no room for that. This needs to be science-based, data collect. Look, good data in, good data out.
Right.
I want to be comfortable. Like
I need a freezer full of Chinooks.
I want to be comfortable.
Right.
I want to be comfortable.
And I'm okay with
in-season
management.
I get it.
That's what we're gonna do to maintain equitable and sustainable fish resources for our generations to come. Like I said, I started this North of Falcon process thing because if I'm getting kicked off the water now, how the heck do I ensure that my son's going to be on the water? And I don't know if I can. So I'm okay with us instituting some of this. Do I like how it's maybe it's modeled or estimated? Like we're using this full Murphy theory to model our impacts in some areas. We can discuss that at a different time, but if we're going to have in-season management, and I'm okay with having in-season management, I don't know of a place where the department has gone to our counterpart. You said it so perfectly. We can't tell the co-managers how to fish, and they can't tell us how to fish. But there are things that sometimes make us question whether that is just lip service, or is it happening one way? And I would like to see something where there's a policy instituted that makes us comfortable.
You ask that very question to the department staff. You say, hey, how's the in-season management going to be for area 5? They tell you, hey, it's going to be X. We ask them, hey, we'd like to change that in-season management. Let's change it to, to Y. And they say, we can't do that without talking to our co-managers. So if we don't tell our co-managers how to fish, but they tell us how to fish, that's one way. That's not the Department of Fish and Wildlife's fault, in my opinion. That's not Kelly Cunningham's fault. That's not Jay. That's a process problem. The whole process is broken, and that has to change. There has to be recreational anglers that can stand up and ask viable, truthful, honest questions, and there be a true answer that's not political. It needs to be science-based. It needs to be biological, and it needs to be equal across all user groups.
I couldn't agree more. And we still have a handful of topics to unpack here. And we have a lot of people still tuning in.
Good.
And
how many we got?
A little over 100 now. Yeah. So I'm looking at a lot of these questions and comments. We have folks discussing back and forth. It's hard. Well, there's so many. It's really hard to keep track. Tell you what we're going to do.
Yeah.
We do have a second show that we have to.
Okay. Sorry.
You guys don't. I have to. I got to get this out, and so we have some hunting to cover, and it's good. Alex is a hunter, so he may enjoy this. Jordan, I think we're gonna go ahead and move forward. You have it, right? Yes. Okay. I was able to get this. Yeah. So hey guys, we have a handful of more topics specific coming out of this most recent NOF and PFMC. With these two gentlemen sitting to my immediate right, we will get back to some of that conversation. But right now, we're going to jump to show number 2, and we're going to roll out some of this content that I shot this last weekend. I attended an event, the Hunters Gathering. Yep. First of many, I hope. Just a fantastic opportunity. We'll spin this up here. We'll introduce it. We'll run the video. You guys will get a look at what exactly I was doing, and for good reason. So, hold your thoughts and questions, or keep firing them off here. I can pay attention to questions while we're rolling into the video second show here, and we can come back and answer some of this stuff because there's a lot.
I'd love to.
Okay, so you guys ain't going anywhere. I ain't going anywhere. So we'll do that. Let me get this spooled up here. Jordan, kick that off of here. Show number 2, and yeah, a lot of excellent dialogue happening here amongst the followers here tonight. So this is good stuff. Okay, Jordan, you're ready. You got that ready to dump in there, huh? Okay. All right. Well, let's do this thing so we can get this hunting talk out of the way and get back to what really counts. The fishing. Here we go. Hello and welcome to Fish on Northwest. Duane England, Bill Herzog.
Hunting, fishing is my kind of style. I float the Wainuchi with
right there. Oh, there we go.
I'm proud I own the
That river bites in our hatcheries and keep that fish. Look at that thing. It's not a bad start right there. Oh, it's a big kokanee.
Well, this is as old school as you could ever imagine.
We're fishing this McKay pot. One of the cool things about a McKay pot is it's got our bait tunnel built in.
Well, buddy, what do you think, huh? Oh my gosh. You spotted him. 360 rod in the Quick Series. Fantastic rod. 10.5 foot, 17 to 40 pound rating. Water getting in there, and he's going to pull right out of my hand. Here he goes. Hello and welcome to Fish on Northwest. Duane England coming to you from the Fish on Northwest studio located here in Olympia, Washington, and welcoming back to the program once again, the Badger himself, Philip Olson. Yes, indeed. And of course, Alex Van Hine, Fish Northwest. Gentlemen, so glad you're still here. We have much more to talk about in the realm of fisheries and whatnot. But also tonight's program is some hunting discussion. Alex, you hunt?
I do. I'm a proud hunter. Probably I don't have the background that I had with fishing quite on. I think I'm on my 10th season of hunting mule deer in Eastern Washington.
Okay.
Upland birds.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm excited to to see what you got yourself into?
Yeah, so I participated in this last weekend. I had Trent Fisher on, who I've become friends with from Born and Raised Outdoors.
Yeah,
And if you follow their stuff, right?
Yeah.
So him and Dave Riley, the blacktail coach, got together and they put on this phenomenal event. And it's like, Sherry sent me off to adult camp for for kids. Go ahead.
Oh, did they have a booth at the Sportsman Show, the Blacktail Coach?
They did.
Yeah. Okay.
They
I saw
did.
them.
Yep.
I saw them.
Yep. So Dave Riley is well known in the realm of blacktail, and obviously the Born and Raised guys and elk and deer, and so it was a great cast of characters. We spent the entire weekend at the first annual Hunters Gathering with Dave Riley and the Blacktail Coach and his team, and also, like I said, Trent Fisher, Born and Raised Outdoors, and his crew. Couple additional instructors with Heather and Alex. We covered blacktail, we covered elk, we covered black bear or bear, and we covered turkey. And really, really good presenters, instructors. It opened my eyes on a tremendous amount of opportunity and things that I can change in my own game on what I should be doing. And so my approach to blacktail hunting this next season is going to be
a little elevated.
Yeah, somewhat different. And I'm trying to get back to where I can shoot my bow also for both deer and elk. So, but for right now, the muzzleloader may have to do for the elk, and maybe some archery work. And I actually got this property out back here that's pretty.
It looks pretty nice.
There's a few deer out there. So it was just a really good event. And the accommodations, we're in a cabin to bring the earplugs because a lot of guys snore. But the food was absolutely amazing. It was just a great event. Didn't really know what I was getting into, being the first time and the first one they kicked off, but man, they knocked it out of the park.
Good. That's cool.
Yeah,
cool.
Knocked it out of the park. So just a great opportunity to kind of get away from fisheries for a little bit.
Yeah.
And get into this thing. So hold that thought. I want to bring it to the people. I want to show you what I participated in this past weekend and what you missed out on. All that coming up right after this break. The new leader in heavy gauge aluminum boats. Allied boats have standard reverse chine and lifting rakes to help you plane faster and run at lower RPMs. Allied boats have several models to choose from, ranging from a 19-foot Mustang all the way up to a 32-foot Liberator. So regardless of what type of heavy gauge aluminum boats you are looking for, Allied Boats will have it for you. Contact Allied Boats today to learn more about these incredible fishing machines.
Sharp as can be. Super strong, super durable.
Really good penetration. Thinner and stronger.
Catch fish after fish.
I want to make sure that I'm using the best stuff possible.
World's finest hook.
World's finest hook.
Gamakatsu, world's finest hook.
Before I head out in the field, I make sure I'm ready. Out here, moments come without warning. And what most people call luck is just being prepared when the chance finally shows up. Work sharp.
Max Lure has been making time-proven fishing lures since 1969. Our quality fish attractors have become essential gear for generations of anglers. From the iconic wedding ring and sling blade to the versatile sonic bait fish, each of our products are designed to help you reel in bigger and better fish. Max Lure products have helped anglers catch more fish for years, and we're confident you will too. Get your tackle at maxlure.com.
level of consistent hunting and fishing practice, and then around age 50, people start aging out and they drop off. And so one of the challenges that we're facing is that people are aging out faster and they're not coming back to hunting specifically. This is an eye chart to look at, but we track all of our license sale data and our R3 performance.
Right now, we've got Alex Cheney, and you guys, you've done the Washington Slam how many times?
9 times.
In a row?
No, not in a row, out of 12 years.
Out of 12 years, okay. 9 out of 12 years.
What a failure. I know.
What a loser.
He should be dressed like you.
So, but Alex, give your undivided attention. He's very successful, guys. We want you to learn as much as you possibly can. We want everybody in here to be successful. So Alex is a phenomenal guy. Again, willing to answer all your questions. And after we get done with Alex, we're going to take a little break, and then we got Trent this afternoon. Okay, they're all big guns. So we're pulling out the big guns today and tomorrow. Okay, so I hope you guys enjoy it as much as we have. Alex Cheney.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, so a little bit of background about turkeys in Washington State, which this surprised me. They're actually not native here, despite how many birds are over on the east side. Americans were introduced in the 1960s by Fish and Wildlife and National Wild Turkey Federation. They came from New Mexico, Arizona, and Colorado. The Rios were also introduced in the 1960s from Texas, Kansas, Oklahoma, and the Easterns were introduced in the 80s, and all those were transplanted from the East Coast.
So if they're roosted here, and I'm set up on this side of them, I will put my decoys another 20 or 30 yards on the opposite side of me. That way they fly down, they see my decoys farther than where I'm set up, it's going to bring them that much closer within range. So same thing with elk, you have that second caller behind you, another 80 yards behind you or whatever. Same thing with my decoy setup. If they're over here and I'm set up against this tree, I'll put them another 20 or 30 yards on that side of me, getting them to get that much closer, if that makes sense.
Are you right on the field line trying to be back up against a tree? Or are you trying to have 1 or 2 trees, rows back and just have established lanes,
If I have clear shooting lanes, I like to be 1 row of trees back. That way it just gives me that much more cover. If I do not have the shooting lanes, I'll set up right on the edge, and I've taken a lot of birds that way.
Right now we're going to turn it over to Born and Raised. We got Trent here. Everybody's been spending time with me. An awesome guy. Okay, I did hear a story last night about was it your cameraman? Shot a bull?
Oh, yeah.
Is that this gentleman?
No, it's not.
I thought we were going to have some more laughs.
No,
okay.
I fired him a long time.
Trent Fisher, guys.
Thank you guys so much. It's been crazy. Not crazy. It's been awesome. I've been here. I've hunted since I was born, pretty much. And just going through the 2 different classes that I've already been through, I learned a ton from Dave yesterday and then also from Alex this morning. That was informational, even for someone that's been in the woods all their life, this is very, very informational. So really, really cool stuff, guys. My name is Trent. I have a company called Born and Raised Outdoors and started in 2007, a while back. And so all we wanted to do was we wanted to make hunting videos for just everybody to see. Nobody made a Roosevelt hunting video, really. I want to reach as far as I can, right? And so I'm going to hit the highest note and hold it and let this thing just roar, hopefully, as far as it can go. Noah's going to be with the caller back here, and Wyatt's going to be the elk, and I'll be with the shooter. And so we'll kind of just do a scenario first. We'll run through it maybe with just me, and I'll tell our shooter, Anthony, what to do a little bit, kind of. And then Noah can, as we can kind of play through this, and hopefully we can, after a while, everybody kind of gets the hang of it, and we'll just make it, and we'll rotate through.
You hear him? Where do you guys hear him? Okay, so what's our first problem?
sharpshooter center. We
No.
Do we want to run this way?
All right. You're directing me? Okay, so you're pointing at the bull. What do you want us to do? That's what I'm saying, yeah. Yep, perfect. So right now we got a good line. We can just keep it. And that's the other thing is if you're hearing forward progress, we're not calling. They can see or hear that he's raking. So now we're raking, right?
I'm just gonna sit here because I can see him through the brush, you know?
There's no need to tell me.
There is, if he's got a clear line of sight, I would look back and I'd be like, I can see him. But at the same time, if it doesn't add anything to the situation,
Just extra movement.
yep, you don't have to. Correct. Then I'll make I'll say, hey, you know, do this or something. So he's still just, all we know right now is there's a cow there. We didn't see any horns. We just saw movement of an elk right there, right? So, yep, and heard a cow.
I make my living catching fish, not only as a tournament angler, but as a guide as well. Catching fish is important, and Gamakatsu hooks for me, you know, they kind of help take the luck out of fishing a little bit just because they're a high quality hook. Obviously have a really good reputation for being very strong and very sharp. Gamakatsu, I use their products every day in the boat and, you know, big part of my success.
Game trail coming down. We got a game trail coming off of this edge, and we got the bedroom door right here. And it all bottlenecks right here. Plus, we've got the road coming up, and does and small bucks will always take the path of least resistance. So they're gonna travel the roads all the time, right? So this is our bottleneck. This is where they all come together. This is where we're gonna do our kill spot, all right? So here's my bedroom door. Look at that trail coming down off of there, guys. I mean, there's deer tracks all over right here, okay? That is the most well-used game trail that we've come up on. Now, is that a bedroom door? It might be. If it is, that's telling me there's not a lot of deer in here, because typically a bedroom door, you're looking about 1.5 foot, about 15 to 18 inches, where it's just bare dirt and it's just loaded with tracks like this. Here we go, 2 bottles. Where's my kill spot? Right here? Here's my kill spot. I open 1 bottle. How many times am I gonna squirt this? 2 to 3, which one, 2 or 3? 3, I'm gonna squirt 3 times. Right here, right here, and let's do 1 down over here. Okay, cap on it. Second bottle. 2, everybody agree? 2 times? 2 times. Oh, right there, And I see there. Maybe I'm gonna come over here. Spray a little bit right there.
We're gonna go ahead and do the bear course in the morning. We'll go a couple hours after lunch, and then we'll do all the field sessions this afternoon. That way, it should be done raining by about noon. Things will dry out just a little bit. We're not walking in the rain.
Typically, this is all blacktail, and I teach for 3 days. Man, I only had to teach for 5 hours. This is great. No, but everybody that we brought up has just been fantastic. These speakers are great, and we're going to continue that this morning with Heather Aldrich, who's going to come up, and she is a black bear phenom. She is a killer, okay? She puts her husband to shame. No, she is by far heads and shoulders above a lot of people out there. Her technique is very successful. She's going to come and share it with us this morning. And as she does, just know that you're hearing from one of the best, okay, guys?
Okay, so this guy right here is my very first bear. I was younger, thinner, probably had a better attitude than today, just saying. But this guy right here started me down the journey, the rat hole of becoming a bear hunter.
Pro school, we're gonna put all three together. We're gonna do wah, we're adding the diaphragm, and we're gonna shake the call. Right? We're changing, it's one call that can make all kinds of sounds. Try it, all three together. You're gonna shake the call, you're gonna do the wah, and we're putting the air in from your diaphragm. Excellent. All right. Any calls or questions on that? I don't know. Right? Okay, one more minute. Whatever you can mark while we're. Okay, we're gonna put a kibosh on that. Next project, I want you to mark a B on any area you think is a bedding area for bears. Remember, those are north-facing slopes, shaded benches, thick brush patches. Think like he would think. How's he gonna use that topography? Find a place he could bed. Just mark it with a B for me.
You're gonna come in like this right here. You're gonna hit both the lungs, and you're gonna hit that offside shoulder. Break him. You can do that. I do not want to shoot that front shoulder on the front side, on your side shoulder. Do not hit that. Okay? Come back in here. And don't pay attention to the hair. You pay attention to structure. Okay? There's a lot of hair on this thing. Very important. Go through here. Do not come in from the front side with a rifle. Obviously not an arrow either. But don't come in this way. You come in here, you come in here, like that.
Just like the methods of like breaking it down systematically, like with elk calling, that whole teamwork with it. I thought that was super cool and kind of gets me going. Even like just to be a caller, not even a shooter. Like I'd rather even do that and get really good at that and get my buddy to get an elk.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still like on my third year. I'm just, locating is the biggest part. And so I haven't had an opportunity to get the sense to work, but what I did do is that I've at least been bringing in the does, and I do have bucks showing up on my trail cameras. And so getting it just right, it takes a lot of field work, and I'm looking forward to doing more field days with Dave to actually look at the habitat and how you do a set.
Very good. I like the mapping part of it. Just verifying my opinions already or correcting my misconceptions.
Yeah, did you know there was going to be a pub quiz?
No.
Yes?
Mostly. She made some corrections. Yeah. I thought it was good though. I liked it. Really informative. The calling part was hilarious. Listen to everybody call for the first time. That was fun.
Behind every great fishtail, every grip and grin glory shot, a record set, there lies tragedy, folly, mishap, strife only an angler's heart can know. Out here, you have to earn your strikes. It won't be pretty, but we'll have your stern. through thick and thicker. Because there are always more fish in the sea, and the right one, it's out there, just waiting to be found.
The Northwest premier upland bird hunting destination. Located along the beautiful Umatilla River in eastern Oregon. Fully guided bird hunts with expert guides and top-notch dogs. Enjoy comfortable accommodation and gourmet meals at the Riverview Lodge. Book your sensational hunting experience with Horseshoe Curve Outdoors.
Defiance Marine is the one-stop shop for the Pacific Northwest angler. Defiance Marine guarantees the best price on a new and best service on a repower for your current boat. Defiance Marine is a Honda Premier dealership and one of the largest on the West Coast. Defiance Marine is a boat dealer who proudly sells Defiance, Allied, and Arima boats. All boats are built by West Coast fishermen for West Coast fishermen. Defiance Marine has all your boating needs to help you get out on the water. All right, welcome back here in studio. Hopefully you enjoyed that. Appreciate you guys hanging out.
Yeah, no problem.
Watching your way through that. Alex, you saw the kind of what I was involved with there.
Yeah, it looks like a great time.
It was a really good time. They do a fantastic job being the first installment of that. Now, look, Dave Riley, the Blacktail coach, he's done similar events, 2 or 3 day events, all specifically around blacktail. This guy is a phenom on blacktail, and not just getting bucks, but getting big bucks. Bookmark bucks. Like he laid it all out there, like how you navigate your way through time of season, lean in on their natural instinct and the drive of the rut, and up your scent game and all these things that you can be doing to find big bucks in crowded hunting areas on public ground.
Yeah,
because a lot of guys are going right past them. And they're looking into, too much time in the clear cut, not enough time where they really want to be in the deep cover.
Right.
So it just opened my eyes. It's going to change my approach to my blacktail hunting this year.
Well,
so
they call them the gray ghost for a reason.
They do.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. And if you are successful in either archery or close range, I've killed blacktail with my bow, with my shotgun, with my rifle. Different environments, different opportunities, right?
Yeah.
And it's just every one of them. I've appreciated every single one of them. I mean, you saw at the start of that there, Tom Ryle from WFW was there. He and I talk a lot during blacktail season with a couple other buddies. It's just kind of our network that we rely on. But there's so much to learn. I mean, again, I told you guys I'm an old man. I just turned 60, and I didn't start hunting till I was 47.
Yeah, so we're in the same
boat.
Yeah.
So trying to just gain as much as I can and never, ever stop learning, right? You have opportunity to broaden your horizons.
Right.
And of course, I mean, the born and raised guys, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And
well, I could use all the help right now. I'm on like a 2-year
hiatus from begging an animal. Yeah. It gets tough out there, man. It's getting more and more crowded, and we're getting less land to access. There's a lot going on in that regard too. I mean, we could do a whole show and conversation on hunting and just the difficulties thereof.
Yeah.
And you know why only 3% of the population of Washington State hunt?
Please do tell.
Because it's hard. It's a lot of hard work.
Yeah.
You got to put in a lot of time.
You do.
And no matter what your weapon of choice is,
Yeah.
you got to practice. You got to dedicate yourself. And
One
you
of
got
the very first things when I first started hunting, when someone was telling me, I was like, "Wow, do I need this? Do I need like this backpack or whatever the case?" He's like, "I'm going to tell you right now, you're going to get back from your first hunting trip. There's only one thing you're going to wish you had: more time."
Yeah.
And that's
a good pair of boots.
Yeah, that's right.
For sure. So
Definitely wish we had more time.
Never stop learning. Immerse yourself. Surround yourself with persons with great knowledge. You know, Heather, as far as the bear hunting, oh my gosh, opened my eyes. And then Alex with the turkey hunting, a lot of things that I do similar to him. That guy in 12 years has actually nailed down 9 Washington State Grand Slams.
Oh wow.
That is difficult to do. Yeah, if you find a little pocket of Easterns here on the west side of the state, I know it's confusing, but if you're finding those Easterns to, finish that trifecta, more power to you, because there's very few existing around here. So yeah, just a really great opportunity. The Hunters Gathering. Go to the huntersgathering.com, go to the blacktailcoach.com. All the information is available, and they will be doing it again next year, and we will actually have Dave and Asha in studio here in a few months down the road to revisit that. All right. Never enough time, always too much content. We have more fishery discussion in the show after the show. But before that, hey, it's going to be a great week out there. Take advantage, get outside, get something done. We'll see you next time right here, Fish Hunt Northwest. God bless. Okay, time restraints have been lifted, fellas. Let's get back into some wholehearted discussion here. We still got a great amount of folks on here. A lot of conversation going on amongst you guys on the chat here, which I love to see.
Yeah.
I apologize if I can't get back to a lot of these questions, but a lot of them seem to be okay. Yeah, nice comments. So a lot of conversation amongst the group here. Hey, one thing I want to get back to, we kind of touched on a little bit, the sublegal encounter thing. I did a little looking into this, right? Two things I want to cover. Sublegal encounter, and folks have been asking on the permit process. Why doesn't WDFW just go get their own permit? Well, we got to work around on that too. Look, they've been acquiring this sublegal encounter data since 2003. At the end of the day, I want to know two things. In our ability to navigate our way through North of Falcon, PFMC, and co-managers, WDFW, everybody coming together to, build these fisheries. In my mind, the goal should be we got to maximize as much as possible the opportunity for recreational anglers and tribal co-managers in their conducted fisheries to remove as many hatchery fish from the waters as we possibly can. The second part of that is we also need to ensure that we are getting as many wild fish or natural spawners back to the gravel as we possibly can.
Agreed.
If we have those two things in mind and we're successful in regard to both of those, then we have a successful managed fishery approach, right?
Yeah, that's what we want.
This sublegal encounter thing, and I've talked to a few folks about this, I'm just looking for the supportive data that says we are doing this because we are acquiring this data and putting it into the FRAM because it has proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that we are getting far more wild fish back to the gravel than when we weren't using it. I got to be honest, I look at it as a tool to kind of micromanage our fishery and get the recreational fleet off the water sooner than later. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't see anything else happening, and hopefully DFW staff are watching. If somebody can message me or send me info, data or whatever, what goes into the FRAM or why we hang our hat so hard on this. You made a valid point. This year's model would indicate we have a high return of 2-year fish.
Yeah.
Why? How? I mean, and all of a sudden we have this surgence of 2-year fish coming in with this abundance of hatchery Chinook returning, and then we don't get access to them because, I mean, what are we doing?
It's an error. That type of modeling needs to be fixed. That type of modeling shouldn't reduce fisheries that much. And, we've talked about it. We had open dialogue at PFMC about that. We had quality conversations about the people that created FRAM, the people that were heavily involved with the department in FRAM. And hey, it's not something we could fix short term here at PFMC. We need to fix it long term. But when you start going to North of Falcon and you bring the same issues up year after year and you don't get change, you ask yourself the exact same question that you just asked. Like, what is why? What is the real reason behind FRAM? What is the real reason behind the modeling?
At times I feel like we're on a hamster wheel.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Putting in all the effort.
Yeah.
Putting in all the exercise, putting in all the hours, getting nowhere.
Yeah. I kind of mentioned it before, obviously it's some type of a policy measure that has been instituted into our fisheries to provide comfort. And I too would love to see how that has been a tangible, or that there is a tangible result. And I'm not sure that, I think we can ask and do something else. On the other hand, we'll see which one happens first. But I don't know if that's an answer that they can provide or that they can equate back to us. I'm sure that they would love to.
Sure.
I know that they have some really intelligent folks that work on that stuff.
100% agree.
And also, I mean, not to get it sidetracked, but most of the times when we ask for some kind of reason, like in some of these one-on-one conversations we have, like the really in-depth conversations Jake or Philip had with folks like Jake Rice and others at PFMC, in my communications as well, when we ask them for an explanation, usually we get it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe down the road, or it may not be to the detail we hope for.
Yeah.
So I'm sure they want to provide that answer to us, but we're not seeing it.
Sure. I just think it needs to be asked and follow up with.
If we are managing in season 2 sublegal encounters, are we doing that across all user groups?
That's the other side of the coin. Yeah. What impacts us should impact all.
That's right.
100%. I mean, there's no like, well, we're going to do this for this group, or we're going to do this for this group. We're managing one fishery.
If it's for conservation, then it needs to be for conservation with everybody that harvests inside of all those.
Some folks have asked, why hasn't DFW sought their own permit? Now, I can tell you guys, I think I mentioned it at dinner, back in 2014, Jim Unsworth was the director of DFW, and Herzog and I were doing radio back in that time, and I actually had Jim Unsworth and Ron Warren back in the day join us Saturday morning, 6 a.m. in Seattle, KJR on the radio, right? And we talked a lot about fisheries and the fact Unsworth was from Idaho, and asked him point blank, like, there's multiple user groups here. There's co-managers. There's North of Falcon process.
Right.
How much do you know about sitting down and working with or negotiating with the tribes in securing our fisheries, right? And he said, well, I'm going to learn. Like, I don't want the director of DFW
to be learning.
It's like OJT on the job training. It's like, no, it's not the answer I wanted. But, to his credit, he did what he thought was best. One of those moves he made was they could not come to agreement at the table. North of Falcon process, they just were at odds. They were butting heads. And I don't recall, maybe Alex, you do, was it 2014, 15, 16, whatever it was, they were at a stalemate. Now the tribe secured their permit from NOAA. They went fishing.
They're a federal entity.
Exactly. So what did we do? Well, we sat on the sidelines for, I believe, around 3 weeks or so.
Yeah.
Because we didn't have a permit to go fishing, right? This also included Lake Sammamish, Lake Washington, anywhere where you have an anadromous fish coming through.
Yes.
We're all closed. So the bass fishermen were beside themselves. They were like, I can't go fish for bass. Well, no, because you're entering waters that have anadromous fish migrating through. So it shut down everything in that regard. It was some tough times. Only when they came to agreement, they got the loaf taken care of. They finalized the North Falcon process, PFMC, everything got finalized. DFW dovetailed on with the co-managers, and the permit was granted, and we went back to fishing.
Yeah.
Since then, I've been educated the fact, like, if, first of all, there's no positive outcome for DFW to be working over here and the co-managers to be working over here.
No.
Agree?
Completely agree.
Right? It's like, we're not trying to create separation amongst the group.
It doesn't change what still year in and year out would need to be required for NOAA to approve a fishery on ESA listed fish.
Just because you come into the table and you say there's 100,000 fish, and they come to the table and say there's 50,000 fish, well, we're going to get our own permit and you guys get yours. NOAA's not going to grant those when we're so far apart. And we can never come together if we're not.
Yeah. If anything, it might make the process even more contentious.
Even worse. Yeah. Not to mention, it would take a couple of years for DFW to secure that permit. Possibly, we could end up sitting out a whole season.
No, 18. Yeah.
Right?
At least.
Okay.
Because we would have to secure our own biological opinion on it.
Yeah.
On our state of our fisheries.
I'm not in favor of them ever seeking their own permit, because
now, I mean, I get this. I get the optics of it.
Sure.
The antics and the optics of, like, hey, if we just had our own permit, we could file and we could fish, and we don't have to ask for anyone's approval on it. And it makes sense when you look at it in certain trains of thought, but as we've spent a lot of time talking about this stuff, and I've spent some time talking with a lot of other folks who are involved in this, I want to be able to fish just as much as anyone else. But I think that we need to understand that we are in a partnership with a very important group
100%.
in this state.
Yep.
And that is our treaty tribes.
Yep.
And if there's a group that wants opportunity to harvest fish and be on the water and get more fish on the gravel, if there's a group that wants that as much as we do or more, it's them. And the last thing that we need to do is to harm that relationship and that partnership. I just want to see the state advocate for their stakeholders in a more advantageous and a more aggressive pattern that we see with co-manager advocacy.
Yeah. I agree.
That's their way of life, and they fight tooth and nail for every
do.
opportunity they get, and as they should. But the same should go for our representatives, the folks that we fund.
Yeah.
And that we're stakeholders of.
Yeah.
So
I couldn't agree more.
mindset.
That's really all I want at the table is somebody that's there fighting for us and our rights and our ability to get on the water and fish and maximize our opportunity.
Yeah.
That starts from the commission down.
In the department.
Let's not go there.
Yeah. Hey, if you want to, I'll be commenting Saturday morning.
Oh, well, yeah.
At the commission meeting. So
yeah.
To his point, I asked Christina Iverson about. I made a comment at PFMC, and at the end of one of my comments during the public comment period, I said, "Hey, the department, I believe at this point should get their, should strongly consider getting their own permit." A lot of my followers asked that same question. I wanted to know the answer to that question, and they gave me probably one of the purest, cleanest, most detailed definition of what is truly entailed to do that.
Yeah,
and we're co-managers on this resource,
right,
and whether you're doing it together or apart, you have to co-manage and come to something that NOAA is going to approve. And we truly will not be fishing. And it'll be terrible optics to our co-managers.
There is way more reasons not to go down that road.
Yes.
Than there are benefits to go down that road.
Yeah. And so a week ago, I didn't feel that way.
Right.
And the department gave me that answer. The department needs to give us that answer across the board on all of these topics.
Yeah.
So that everybody, you, me, Al, everybody can all truly understand the why behind some of this stuff. Not just a thank you for your comment.
Yes.
We're considering it. Next person, please talk.
We constantly ask for transparency.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And help you by helping to educate us.
Yes. Yeah. One of the biggest places right now that we're advocating for transparency on is this very little known but very imperative piece of our resource management plan, the Still-Squamish payback provision.
Okay.
There is a provision that's written into the Puget Sound comprehensive salmon management plan that following a season is completed. They do the assessment in February. It's stated to be done by February 7th. They assess all the impacts that were done on the Still-Squamish fish stock throughout all fisheries, co-managers or sport, even commercial, I think.
So they do have co-manager numbers of harvest?
There's supposed to be a calculation of all sport and co-manager fisheries postseason on what their impacts after their fisheries have been concluded. All fisheries have been concluded on where there are still impacts. Like, did we exceed our quota in Marine Area 10 and 7 and 9? Did we exceed that quota? And when we exceeded that quota, did we exceed our Still-Squamish impacts that we agreed on?
And if we did, where?
And if we did, where? And then the provision states that not the next year, but the year following, we would then pay back that exceedance into our fisheries. We would be reduced. Let's say it's 9% on unmarked and 14% on marked. That's what we're operating under right now.
Okay.
We would be reduced on those numbers. What we have never seen since the implementation of this is an accounting of that daily payback provision. And we know that there have been some fisheries, maybe not all sport fisheries, that have come dangerously close, if not have exceeded that. And we have yet to see transparency on that.
Are we Are we providing that data every year, DFW, for recreational impact?
Haven't seen it once.
Haven't seen it
for
once.
either for anywhere.
And they're also not on the co-manager side.
Well, so and you can't just say on the co-manager side across all
And we're
user
together
group.
on
You
it, yeah.
cannot say
Well,
it
that's
across.
what I'm saying. They haven't produced it for us, and they haven't produced it for them.
Yeah, but you can go to the Tulalip Tribe's natural resource website, and you can see real time how many fish they've harvested. Coho, Chinook, Chum, but you can't just put in Google and find the postseason tribal treaty harvest reports on the Northwest Indian Fishery Commission's, the Department of Fish and Wildlife's website. You can find them, but you need to be the best Where's Waldo salute. I mean, you can find them. They're hard.
So,
the question is why?
And that goes for the state too. You can't find anything on the sport.
Sure.
Why?
Either.
Okay, so
what are we hiding?
If we have a particular fishery that continues to impact our opportunity to be on the water.
Yes.
And we have 279,000 hatchery Chinook coming back this year, which if I'm a fish program manager or a biologist or anybody that's, rearing fish and releasing them and getting these nice returns, I want to maximize our opportunity to get these recreational folks out there to get them out of the water.
Yeah.
A component of that would be to produce the numbers that would show the impact we're having on the Stillaguamish component that we've spent. Again, we talked about it earlier in the program.
Very important.
Millions of dollars in habitat restoration. Do I dare say we're trying to navigate our way through a broodstock program or a hatchery resurgence program to build these numbers? Let's not clip these fish. Let's get them in the water.
Yeah.
And yet we don't have any idea of what the actual conducted fisheries are having as far as an impact, but we're pretty happy to look at a sublegal encounter and get us off the water.
Yeah.
We don't have the numbers or everybody doesn't. I mean, that's
well,
the
everybody
question.
doesn't have the numbers.
No,
the department has the numbers.
The
department has to have the numbers.
It's
NOAA
in the
has
plan.
the
It says it
numbers.
was to be calculated.
You would hope they do.
They must.
You have
It's
to
a
have
provision.
It's part of the management plan.
Well, isn't that public records information?
No.
Should be.
Well, it takes. I started this in January. It takes the records request I put in last week. My date of when I'm going to get them back is September 12th.
So
if it comes in on time.
And here's the reason why I find this important. And I know we're not going to get stuck on the Steely payback provision. We could go on for a day or two on
Sure.
this. But here's what the department does really well. They are told a box to operate in, and they do it. And they follow the rules that we're told to follow. I want to know that by following those rules, some of which we've implemented because of comfortability, requests for comfortability, I want to know if we're even getting close.
Yep.
I want to know if we're over managing. I want to know if we're utilizing this sublegal encounter fishery control too aggressively.
Yeah, I agree.
Is if we're 9-14 on the Stilly, are we postseason? Are we at 7-12?
Yeah.
And if we're at
left fish on the
7-12,
table, we left impacts on the table.
Yeah, for sure.
then we're
We don't
losing
know.
opportunity. We don't know.
I agree.
That's not fair.
One question on here is the hump tulip season been set? Yes, you can find all that information in the Grays Harbor region seasons as they've been allocated. I believe the hump is mid-September, and through the season, you're going to retain one fish, hatchery, Chinook, indoor coho, no Chinook in November, I believe, if I remember right.
Yeah,
so the information's out there.
And I just noticed as of the 16th, which I don't even know what the date is today. It's been a long week. But the department has posted they posted a rough draft of what the loaf will look like.
Okay.
It's on the website right now. You can go to wdfw.wa.gov, and on the search engine part, you can just type in the three letters NOF. Go to the North of Falcon main page, and you will then see some links that will be to proposed fisheries.
Correct. It'll break it down. Puget Sound,
Go to
Puget Sound
proposed
rivers.
fishery,
Yeah.
And then right away, you're going
right.
to see this list of this draft of what's been agreed on, and it'll have dates and fishery controls as well.
Yeah. Fantastic. Okay. Well, we've been at it for a little over 2 hours, believe it or not. Philip, any final thoughts you want to get out? You've kind of taken on this whole North of Falcon process, PFMC, just kind of got through your first year. Where do you plan to go from here? I mean, what are you going to continue to do? Become an advocate for recreational anglers really try to understand what all this modeling is, continue to build rapport with folks at WDFW so they'll sit down and have those conversations with you. What's your goal?
Yeah, I mean, I would like to get more days on the water as a recreational angler. I want to be able to fish. If we keep going down this trajectory, in 5 years, Area 10 is going to have a 10 fish limit for everybody fishing. I mean, that's the trajectory we're going.
Yeah.
And we left this process. It was a rat race from February until April with a lot of unanswered questions on some big, high level problems inside of this process that we need to get answers from. That management plan, NOAA hasn't approved of it. I've sent James Dixon quite a bit of communication on some of the inadequacies that I feel are in that management plan. I plan on, being a part of that. The department has taken a lot of questions from the public on some high level management practices that we'd like to get some answers to. There's inputs that are put inside of this FRAM modeling from certain fisheries that on the surface are not the best available science. There's, preseason numbers put in there for certain fisheries that are extremely overinflated that reduce recreational opportunity. And, to get a permit from NOAA, you have to be using the best available science.
Yeah.
And when you're best available data, and when you're putting a fishery in place that the number is 300% higher than any actual historic harvest number, how is that?
Why are we putting that in there?
And how do we fix it? How do we get everybody to talk about it and discuss it where it's not an attack on a user group?
Sure.
It's talking about best available science, best available data. There are in-season controls that need to get discussed and talked about.
Sure.
This sublegal thing, how are we really using one boat in one marine area to calculate what the sublegals are for the entire fleet? We have electronic licenses now, and the department's talked about VTRs.
Yeah.
And you can't even report your VTRs, your voluntary trip reports that lead to the sublegal encounters that control our fisheries in that app. Like, how is the department going to fix that? If we're going to get managed to that stuff, how can we really truly get the most accurate data?
Well, because part of the pushback with co-managers over the years has been faulty data.
Yeah.
So DFW has survived forever, as long as I've been, and before, on punch card data collection, right? And only a percentage of those. It's a drop in the bucket just to look. It's almost like TV's trying to get their viewership. Like it's only a sampling, is what I'm trying to say. So, and I've sat at the meetings and asked the questions, and they say, well, they push back from across the table because they feel our data is inconclusive and/or it's not accurate, and it's late, and/or because of the sampling, it doesn't fit, the model of what's really going on out there. And of course, we know how well people mark down information on the paper trail that you can't write on anyway, especially when it gets wet. I mean, there's a whole host of issues. Now we've gone to the electronic version, and it's like anything else. It's new. It's frustrating for several, maybe many, but a lot of folks are starting to wrap their head around it. And I think moving forward, it's heading in the right direction.
Good move.
Yeah, and it's going to account for in-time accurate data. We hope, and I would hope that the department is in a much better position to provide accurate, up-to-date data when you sit here and build these models and interject certain parameters on that stuff. And that only comes from folks being on the water, utilizing their device, putting in accurate information.
Technology is a big thing. Technology needs to be implemented into these fisheries if we're going to be controlled. Like, AI is a big thing. AI needs to be used to help predict fisheries. We're using hook mortality rate data that's from the 80s inside of this modeling. I mean, it truly is from the 80s. And since the 80s, we've got barbless hooks that are a thing. We got don't take fish out of the water. That's a big thing. We got knotless nets that are a thing. Like, we need to update that hook mortality data to reflect what these fisheries truly are. And I think that the department needs to have open dialogue between now and the next time we have this rat race in North of Falcon, and give us an explanation. If you can't change it, why are you not changing it?
Let's not be selective on what we're choosing to update in the data in certain portions of the FRAM model. Like, look, we're collecting new data every year in all these different areas that we're fishing. We should have the latest and greatest updated information going into that model, not something that's 10 years old and non-relevant.
No. On that, Ty Garber, he's on the salmon technical team, and he's like their FRAM lead. He made a mention at one of the North Falcon meetings earlier in the process that they will update the base model. It takes years, takes a lot of work, probably takes a lot of resource and money. Sure. One of his lines was, "There's going to be winners and there's going to be losers." And I think as long as we all understand that some fisheries are probably there's probably be some things that are reflected that weren't reflected 10, 15 years ago in the base model that are, they're there now. We have winners and losers right now. Well, we don't have a lot of winners. We've had a lot of losers.
There's that.
And I'm willing to take the pill that they give us as long as it's clear, it's current, it's concise, it's accurate. I would rather see that and see that implemented than us working on old data and then cherry picking what we're going to decide to update.
Seals and sea lions are probably going to be one of my very
don't have time for it. Had Senator Jeff Wilson in here a few weeks ago, and he was spot on, and he's going to reintroduce a bill. Hopefully it lands in the correct area, not in the Ways and Means, but in the natural resources. It doesn't get kiboshed by a biased chairperson sitting in that seat that just say, we're not even going to deal with that. It's like, give it its due diligence.
I spoke with someone today who I think was spending some time in DC, and sounded like, they just got done with their meetings this last week, and sounded like there was some positive movement on some pinniped activism or some pinniped solutions.
Well, as discussed with Senator Jeff Wilson, look, DFW has the green light for 550 pinnipeds per season for a 5-year permit. That comes to close to, if not a little exceeding of 2,500 that they could be getting rid of. Problematic, right? The issue is funds. On one side of the issue here is the lack of money. And he was introducing a bill that when we go re-register our vessel for the year,
a little portion of that.
if we choose to donate into the sea lion fund, we could do that. And how many conversations have you guys had with, man, I will give, name a dinero of how much money I'll throw at this thing if they can start exterminating sea lions. Well, this bill would have done exactly that on a volunteer basis, no cost to the state, blah, blah, blah. And this gal kiboshed it. It never even got out of committee, never got a hearing, nothing. No reason for it other than just bias and don't want to hear it, whatever. So
I mean, take the bias out of it. Let our treaty tribes handle that.
They would love to handle it.
There's that side of it. I've had those conversations as well.
It's a resource that maybe they're the ones who should have that that freedom, if you would, to help monitor. I would absolutely be in support of them being in control of a program like that.
Sure. Yeah. We got issues in Columbia River and obviously Salish Sea as well out there in Puget Sound water. So
it's important for me to say, a lot of my content is, really poignant, really tough on the department. And, a lot of those things are completely out of the department's control. And a lot of the things are like big process-driven issues that the department needs to give us clear answers on. But the one thing that I've learned in, the last 90 days is, attacking individual people on the whole deal.
I told you it's a no-starter for me, right?
Is not the way to do it. And, you got to learn from your mistakes.
Well, and I think you have. And you're understanding you got to build relationships. You got to build trust. You got to build that rapport. It's pretty nice to be able to call somebody up and say, hey, you got time to go meet for coffee? And just have an off-the-record conversation.
Very much.
Right? And just bend their ear a little bit because you never know where that's going to land.
Right.
You never know whose who they're going to take that to supervisor wise and say, hey, I had an interesting conversation with a gentleman the other day and he brought something to my attention.
Sure.
Yeah.
And that's really, you said we have from now until next February.
I hope it's not that long.
It better not be that long.
Yeah.
That's where a lot of
I
this.
mentioned time as something being broken in this process. They need to find time.
They need to.
You're right.
For us. And I know we might be up against the clock, but Jake Rice, does he do everything we ever ask out of him? Absolutely not. Are we always happy with him? But he has made mentioning both to Philip and I that they are looking at regional meetings throughout the year. I told him, I said, I hope you're ready.
Get that bot off.
Yeah.
If you can get that bot off, we'll be happy.
Okay.
He's an East Coast guy.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. He comes from East. It's a different. That's gnarly to be an East Coast, governmental guy.
He's got no feelings.
He has. Yeah, exactly.
You just go. I mean,
he is the
just,
perfect guy for the
I
job because he knows exactly how to give us that.
Perfect.
He's probably watching
that 100. That 100th answer he's given us the same time.
Yeah,
we don't want that answer.
But he's saying they're talking about making regional meetings and doing it throughout the year because they need to.
Oh,
we get no
100%.
time to talk about policy.
Yep. I agree. Yeah. Well, we could talk for hours, fellas. A lot of folks chiming in up here. You still got a couple haters out there, Phil.
That's fine.
Oh, okay.
Still got a couple folks calling you snagger, and they missed the first part of the show where you basically talked about what went down that day. And you know what? They can go review the video. It's out there. Obviously, you weren't using a treble hook with weight. You weren't, there's no intent. Anyway, it's you can only say what you can say. And
I'm not going to appease to everybody.
No.
There's always going to be one.
You have that 1%
or that doesn't matter what you
person
do.
Hater.
They're going to hate you.
Yeah.
So
it's all about building relationships and continue to do what you're doing. Learn, get in on those meetings, put your content out there. Try not to piss anybody off.
Good luck.
You're going to go a long ways, right? So I appreciate you guys joining me in here studio.
Thanks so much, man.
I had a great time. I think we covered a lot of ground. Whether or not we, cleared it up for anybody or just muddied the waters, I mean, that's yet to be determined.
I would encourage anyone who chimed in on the comment section to reach out to any of us personally.
Yeah.
I'm happy to always answer any questions anyone might have.
You guys can take time and go back through our Facebook page here and read up on all the questions. Sure. There's a lot of them. A lot of it, again, is dialogue amongst the folks that are on here, which is always good because they're throwing out things that maybe we didn't talk about things that, Ty White's on here. He is a very knowledgeable individual. He's thrown out all kinds of information.
He's never talked to me.
Yeah.
I've never talked to the guy.
Hey, Ty, maybe the Badger won you over.
Why do you absolutely got to hate me? You've never talked to me one time.
That's okay. I don't think he hates you. I just think he's Ty always brings the question.
Action speaks louder than words on that whole thing.
You know what I said about calling people up and go have that cup of coffee?
I would love Ty, if you're on here.
The Badger is mending bridges, right?
I will take you out.
The Badger is mending bridges.
To the Metropolitan Grill. We'll have a great. I'll fly down to Portland, wherever you want to go.
Perfect, man.
We'll get
right
together.
Well, I appreciate you guys coming in.
Yeah.
We never have enough time to navigate our way through this stuff, but we're all learning, and I think it's important we continue to learn, continue to engage in conversation, and as far as folks are always asking what they can do. Look, if we can get to those regional meetings and folks can get.
Gotta be there.
First thing you need to do is go to DFW and make sure you're on their email string.
Yep.
Because you're going to get stuff dumped into your box constantly.
That helps.
From DFW. You're going to be made aware of stuff. Follow the NOF process.
They've been monumentally better on that this year.
Yeah, they're getting a lot of info out there. Hats off to them in that regard because that in itself is a huge undertaking. But get on their email list so you can stay abreast of things that are happening and going on. They're pretty good at sending out a lot of information. And then aside from that, because now we're out of ledge session and DFW continues to take it from our legislators, get in the ear of your district's legislators.
Yeah.
Right? Let them know how important funding DFW is so they can continue to move forward and quit going backwards, closing down our fishery, shutting down hatcheries, access points, which include boat ramps and bathrooms and all that stuff. They can't function when they take $10 million a year out of their budget. So you need to contact your legislators and support DFW. And by the way, if you have opportunity and time, tomorrow and Saturday, get to the Olympia campus and attend the commission meeting.
That's going to be a fun one.
You going?
Well, I'm going to make comment on Saturday morning.
You gonna be there? Or are you getting online?
I'm gonna do it on Zoom.
Yeah, because you're way up north.
We got to do the class. But if you wanna, it's gonna be a good.
I'm waiting for Ferguson to hand down his decision. How many days is this gonna take? We've been pushed off on this thing for far too long.
Yeah.
Bobby Ferguson needs to make a decision in regards to, you asked me, I want 4 of them gone.
Yep.
I want 4 of them gone.
I think there's 4 you can pinpoint.
Oh, absolutely. We've been following it since day one.
Yeah.
Since the zookeeper got appointed, we've been all over this thing.
Right.
So want to see 4 of them gone, and let's get some folks in there that
Yeah.
are willing to do the good work for the good people of the state of Washington.
Amen. I couldn't agree with you more.
You know, and real quick, there's you know, we've seen my name pop up with this organization, Fish Northwest. FishNorthwest.org.
Yeah, thank you.
We are continuing to provide a legal battle for some of these fishing rights. We have brought litigation on both the federal and the state level. We have ongoing litigation right now. We've found the state to be not in compliance with certain APA things and certain small business economical impact statements. And so we're continuing that fight. So if you do find yourself compelled or want to help, you know, donate to a cause that is currently at this moment fighting to try to provide us a more equitable harbor share and get us on the water, Fish Northwest, FishNorthwest.org.
And you can find you on your social media platforms as well, Fish Northwest. Yep.
I've talked to Brett, the founder of Fish Northwest. That halibut derby that just took place was an absolute rager. It was an absolute huge success.
Yeah,
they put a
fish weighed 254 participants. You know, we're going to work on ways to improve that derby and improve, hopefully get back to an event that's going to be up to good standard. And so we're really excited about the future of that. There's another derby that's coming up here for PSA Fidalgo, the Fidalgo chapter, and of course Fidalgo San Juan Islands. They got a big halibut derby 10K that they're going to pay out. That's coming up. I don't know the exact dates on that, but I'd encourage participation in that as well.
For sure.
That money from that halibut derby went into Fish Northwest's war chest.
There you go.
And that money is going to be used this year for your fishing opportunities.
Right.
And so a lot of people constantly post on my content, what can I do? How can I send? I don't want the money. I do not want any money. Do not send me any money.
Yeah.
If you want money, you put money in Fish Northwest and you will see that money reap rewards through true quality. I mean, the crew that they have there is super powerful. I mean, the best of the best. And
they got some savvy lawyers on board, man.
If there's an opportunity, if there's a way, they are going to find it.
Absolutely. All right, gentlemen. Can't thank you enough. Appreciate you guys joining in, and appreciate all you folks online here hanging out. It's been a long evening. We've covered a lot of ground. Again, I don't know if we helped you out or just made it worse, but we're doing what we can to carry on the conversation. So keep it going online. Check us out on all our social media platforms. If you're tuning in tonight because you know the Badger's in the house, great. Follow us on our social media platforms. Check us out on Facebook, YouTube.
He was
Instagram.
He's one of the only ones that had the cojones to put me on here. So I tip my you deserve the follows. I
didn't just willfully jump into it. You and I had a few phone conversations, and I'm usually a pretty good read on people. I'm like, you know, this Badger's really not that bad a guy. He made a mistake. He's willing to fall on his sword. He laid it out there for all you guys. If you joined us at the beginning of the show, whether you believe it or not, that is entirely up to you. People make mistakes, and then we move forward.
I respect you for bringing me on. I thank you.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, 100%. Somebody had to. Somebody had to.
I appreciate it.
I feel like the conversation was well worth the time, and I hope folks benefited from it. So, all right, until next time, folks. A couple weeks, we got to get on the road, get some fishing done, some turkey hunting, and lots of content to bring you back in the next couple weeks. So, get out there and enjoy. Hope to see a handful of you at our grand opening coming up here at the store. And look forward to that Kids Fishing Derby on May 16th. Go to fishhuntnw.com for all the information on all this stuff. And we'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in.
Sweet.